Okay, little behind the scenes fun fact. There is currently a huge thunderstorm going on outside right now, and it shows absolutely no signs of stopping. It's kind of making me feel like I am the narrator of a Victorian horror novel who will later be revealed to be the murderer. And isn't that fun? Hello, class. Good to see you as always. I have returned for what could be the most dramatic season of The Bachelor ever. Today, we are going to be talking about my one and only, the first season of any Bachelor show I ever watched, season 24, pilot Peter Weber's season of The Bachelor. If you're not familiar, a few months ago, I made an, some would say excessive recap of probably the greatest season of The Bachelorette ever made. Although it is not technically required viewing for this course, there will be some recurring characters from the Bachelorette video in this video, so you know, context. Context is fun. Let me tell you my general experience I have while watching The Bachelor or The Bachelorette. Every time I watch The Bachelorette, at the end of it all, I say, good for her. Maybe I don't like the guy she picked, but if she's happy, I'm happy. More often, I think that woman deserves better than what she got. Without fail, with every Bachelor, by the end of the season, I'm like, get this man off my screen. I never want to see this man again. How dare this man waste my time and these beautiful women's time? Except Joey. We love Joey.
Do you know who this person is?
I do know who this person is. Is it Ruth? No. Is Ginsburg, something like that? Am I wrong?
So be warned now, if you had any lingering affection for this goober, it will be tested in this recap series. Even though Peter Weber is the Bachelor, he is not the star of this season. Honestly, it's not even close. This season is entirely run by the women in his cast and his mom, who, as we will find out, is quite the character. I truly believe that Peter was just along for the ride this season. And you may hear that and think that sounds like a good thing. We love women here. All women are queens. And this is true. However, man, that however is rough. However, this is not a season I would say made up of girls. This is a season where the girls are fighting a lot. Although I'm sure these women are lovely, not on a reality show and not in these specific groups, I guess. If I was on Peter's season of The Bachelor, I simply don't think I would have made it out alive. And honestly, the thought of Chris Harrison possibly being the last person to see me alive sends shivers down my spine. But if you're someone like me who loves a messy season of The Bachelor, I mean, have I got that for you? Forget the love story. Let's just talk about straight people nonsense for 2 hours. So if you're down for that, take a seat, pop open some champagne, and let's talk about Pilot Pete's season of The Bachelor. But before we get started, a brief commercial break to talk about today's sponsor, Aura. As someone who has been perpetually online, I mean, basically since birth, I have given out my personal information to far too many companies to count, which is kind of a scary thought in retrospect. Because of that, my inbox and my phone is constantly filled with spam emails and spam calls. I basically have to live on do not disturb. What I didn't realize at the time is that data brokers can sell your personal information to anyone. Scammers, spammers, anyone who wants to target you. And that is where Aura is so helpful. Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. This not only helps significantly reduce the amount of spam I get, but it also protects me from hackers who could access my social media accounts, my bank accounts, and other sensitive information. I value my privacy and I value yours. You can go to aura.com/Ashley Norton and start your 2-week free trial. It's also linked in the description below. Thank you again to Aura for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to it. Episode 1. We are starting off this season with a 2-hour premiere. 2 hours. That's like the length of one insufferable Bachelor recap video essay. On the last season of The Bachelorette, America was graced with some of the hottest men the Bachelor franchise had ever secured, even setting aside the Luke Ness monster and Mr. Right. Girl, we knew that we were in for what could be the best season of The Bachelor ever, with a true fan favorite at the helm. What woman wouldn't want to compete for Tyler Cameron's love? Oh wait, Tyler Cameron's dating Gigi Hadid now? Is the windmill guy still available? Okay. Pilot Pete! It's everyone's 4th favorite contestant from last season. He came to find love and fucking a windmill. And boy did he. in a windmill, that is. Last time we saw Peter, he was left heartbroken in Greece after Hannah picked the guy who made a dog food jingle over him. But you know what they say? A dog really does deserve the best. Go pick him up some Better Bowl. This video is not sponsored by Better Bowl. Even though his last relationship ended in heartbreak, Peter is ready to find love and hose down some airplanes.
I don't think it could have started any better, to be honest.
If my bachelor isn't guzzling water from a hose and wet jeans, I don't want him. And he's a pilot, remember? You can tell because he has little airplane cufflinks. Pilot Pete is a pilot. His dad is a pilot. His brother is a pilot. His mom is not a pilot, she's a flight attendant. And together, they all look like they just saw you from across the bar and really like your vibe. Speaking of Peter's mom, right away, they tease a big moment on this season. An iconic line.
Don't let her go. Don't let her go. Bring her home to us.
Now, just who could Barbara Weber be referring to here? We'll just have to find out.
This is a big night.
You seem a little fidgety. You seem
Yeah,
a little nervous.
a little bit.
Peter, my guy, you look a little nervous, like you might poop your pants. You nervous, Peter? You nervous? You gonna poop yourself? Well, while Pilot Pete is taking care of that, let's meet some of the women from Peter's season. First, we're starting with Alexa, an esthetician from Chicago. If Alexa gets to Peter's heart, he's gonna be smooth like a dolphin going into round 5 at that windmill.
Waxing is a lot like love. You have to bear it all.
Next, we have Hannah Ann.
Hi everyone, my name's Hannah Ann and welcome to Knoxville, Tennessee.
How long do you think she was spinning around that pole before she started that intro? Hannah Ann is a model from Knoxville, Tennessee, and she might look a little bit familiar to you. After all, she's been in quite a lot of famous campaigns. Perhaps you've seen her modeling Spanx on Amazon, or on the front of a Downy odor protectant laundry detergent, or my personal favorite, her appearance in a national Sonic campaign. This photo has inspired me, given me a whole new lease on life. You know what? God is a woman. This woman. And I like to imagine that she's smiling down on me at this very moment. Then there's Tammy.
Hi, I'm Tammy. Welcome to Syracuse.
Immediately I'm conflicted because I see her beating up men and I'm in love. But then she says that she's a house flipper. And I need to know, Tammy, would you ruin this fireplace with German schmear too? Can I trust you? Then there's Kelly, a lawyer from Chicago who just so happened to actually meet Peter before she went on the show, which seems fundamentally unfair. According to Kelly, she had already been cast on the show, but she wasn't sure if she actually wanted to go. But one night while she was in LA for a friend's wedding, she ran right into Peter. A sign from the heavens that she must go on this reality show. And the thing is, they definitely hooked up at that hotel. Like, Peter instantly recognizes her. They have this whole choreography they planned while they were supposedly in the hotel lobby meeting for the first time. Objectively speaking, they must have hooked up already. But if there's one word to describe this season of The Bachelor, it's messy. So honestly, this all feels right on theme. You may think to yourself, how many aviation-themed entrances can there be?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome aboard Flight 143 with direct service to Peter's heart.
Surely there can't be more, but there's always more.
We got some TSA here?
Yeah, they told me there was a large package in front of the mansion.
Kiara somehow stuffed herself into a carry-on suitcase.
That's like some David Copperfield.
And oh my god, he did it 4 times?
4 times?
Not once, 4 times.
Not twice.
4 times.
Not 3.
4
but
times.
4.
4 times. He was just as in demand as Tyler C for The Bachelor.
Are you ready for round 5?
Round 5.
I love that Deandra is cosplaying as the windmill, sort of implying that Peter the windmill 4 times? I mean, maybe he did. But wait, who is this woman coming out of the limo? Could that be former Bachelorette Hannah Brown?
Hey.
These women are screaming like they just witnessed the Kennedy assassination. Honestly, can you blame them? It's Hannah Brown, and she's newly single. Is she here to compete for Peter's heart? No, that would be crazy. No, on her first night as the Bachelorette, Peter told Hannah he was looking for his co-pilot and gave her her own pair of pilot wings. So naturally, she's back here to give them back and wish him luck in finding his co-pilot. Even though she's just here to say hi, if I were a woman competing for Peter's love, I'd be a little nervous about just how emotional Peter gets seeing and talking to Hannah Brown.
Some of you may have seen Hannah. She stopped by, and I fell in love with her. I truly did.
He says that he's over her, but I just don't know if that's the case. But now it is time for the journey to really begin. One woman you should remember is Victoria F. When I watched this show for the first time, I thought she was one of the most beautiful women I'd ever seen. She's stunning. She's got this amazing green dress, and she has a real zinger to open up with Peter.
I have a very dry sense of humor,
Okay.
but that's
What?
that's about the only thing.
Oh my god, I mean, Chris Harrison, take the shot now. Get her out of here. This girl's crazy. But the real killer is Victoria doesn't make this joke just once. She makes it twice. Later in the night when she goes to grab Peter, Victoria's like, oh my god, remember that thing about, me being wet? And Peter's like, oh yeah, totally I do. Just, do you mind describing it for me again? I totally remember.
Oh, that's right. Yes. No, that was good. I
Was
love
it?
that. Yes,
Okay.
that was good.
Because I was like super nervous about saying it, but then I was like, oh my god, like.
Wait, repeat. What'd you say again? I'm so sorry.
And Victoria sounds just as uncomfortable saying it the second time as she did the first time. So then Victoria goes off to cry in the bathroom because Peter didn't even remember how wet she was. And now she's just wet from sadness, which is objectively not as fun. Also, remember Hannah Ann, Miss Sonic Drive-Thru Queen? Well, she will not let you forget her because she pulls Peter to chat once, then twice, then a third time, all before women like Sheann are even able to talk to Peter once. This is some classic Night One drama, by the way, if you've never watched the show. At least one person is always crying that they didn't get time to talk to their bachelor. Meanwhile, someone else is running laps around the bachelor the entire night. It happens literally every time. And my thought process as a self-certified bachelor expert is, as much as it probably does suck and is awkward shoving your way to the front when there's 30 other strangers competing for time, you just gotta go for it, because any time spent fighting with other girls about taking your time is just taking more of your time. This setup was designed to make women fight one another, and don't fall for it, any potential bachelor contestants out there. It's like they say.
You need to risk it for the biscuit, and he looks like a really hot biscuit. Buttery flaky.
But Sheann is really hurt that she didn't get her time with Peter yet. Meanwhile, Hannah Ann gets to make out with him several times. So Sheann sits Hannah Ann down for the first dramatic confrontation of the season. She says, listen, Hannah Ann, you already spent time with him, and I want to be able to speak what's on my heart with him.
And I want that for you too.
You see what I mean? These fights go nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. And on top of that, while no one was looking, Hannah Ann went and got the first impression rose, because all's fair in love and windmills. Meanwhile, women like McKenna and Natasha seem to have much more effective strategies when it comes to getting time with their man, no matter the cost. While Natasha and Peter are talking, McKenna just starts throwing paper airplanes at the two of them. I mean, he's wide open, take the shot. Natasha says there seems to be some cats and some rats out here. I love the way she says it, by the way.
Honey, there are some cats and some rats. I like to consider myself as a cat.
Here, McKenna, here's this giant paper airplane. Fly away on it, girl. Fly away on it.
Actually, this is a gift for both of you.
Oh, you're so kind.
Thank you.
Kidding, just
But
for
give
you.
me your
Fly
2
away on
seconds.
it.
I give your
Fly
2
away on
seconds.
it.
But before you know it, the sun has already risen. That's right, these women have been up all night and now have to stand for hours in high heels and evening gowns while Peter completes the first rose ceremony at what has to be like 7 in the morning at this point. Of course, because it's the first rose ceremony, emotions are high for everyone, but easily one of the most stressed out girls is Miss Victoria F. Remember, he forgot how wet she was, and then things got real awkward. So she does not want to go home before he gets the chance to really know her heart.
Victoria F. Victoria, will you accept this rose?
Thank you so much.
Phew! First rose ceremony is done, and here are the fallen. But we are somehow only halfway through this first episode. You know the season is messy when they're already showing 2 group dates and a one-on-one in the very first episode. Our first group date is at this airplane hangar, which longtime viewers may recognize as the place Hannah Brown got dumped on Colton's season of The Bachelor. They seriously go to this airplane hangar like every season. But remember, Peter's a pilot, so you best believe we're going to see this place 4 times at a minimum this season. Peter introduces his ladies to some absolute icons.
The very first female Blue Angels pilot. Woo! Badass.
I think he is perpetually on the verge of making that woo sound all the time. And once you notice that, you can't unnotice it.
Doesn't that just make you feel so alive? Woo!
first, the women are learning about some fun aviation lingo.
Thrust, cockpit, suck, squeeze, bang, blow.
We're really bringing the edutainment today. Next, Peter straps these women to a gyroscope, which makes Victoria P, yes, there's another Victoria, quite literally spiral.
The last time I rode on the little teacup spinny thing, you know, as a little girl, I vomited. It was so traumatic.
After facing her fears on the gyroscope, Victoria P runs off to vomit in the gender-neutral bathroom. Been there, done that, am I right, fellas? But Peter is so nice and asks Victoria if she's okay. Then we have a montage of all the girls walking out in flight suits, which I can only assume is meant to be a Top Gun reference. I don't know. Haven't seen it. The women must go through this insane obstacle course, like some straight-up Survivor nonsense. First, they spin these women around, make them dizzy. Then they make the women run up and down this blow-up slide. They next have to run through this wind tunnel, which is trying to send these women straight up into the stratosphere. Then they have to sort through this giant pile of luggage and find the one with their names on it. Run to a porta potty. The first 3 to do so must change into a sexy pilot outfit, and then the first 2 women to do that must do the final course where they're racing on tricycles. With Peter wooing them on from the sidelines, Cheyenne, Kelly, and Tammy make it to the porta potties and change into their fun new looks. Tammy and Kelly are the first out and they make it onto the bikes. But y'all, Kelly isn't following the course.
That's cheating! Kelly starts going straight right through the freaking course.
That's so cheating!
I mean, stop the count. This is an outrage. But even though Kelly just objectively broke the rules, they just declare Kelly the winner. And because Kelly won, she gets to live her best Taylor Swift life and take a quick private flight with Peter. As Kelly takes off to the skies, poor Cheyenne is heartbroken on the tarmac. Her time once again stolen right out from under her. While Kelly and Peter are making out in the sky, the rest of the group heads to the hotel for the evening portion of their group date. And this gives just enough time for Tammy and Cheyenne to really stew in their anger. Don't get me wrong, they're happy for Kelly that she got to spend time with Peter and all, but she did objectively cheat. It should have been Tammy swapping saliva in the sky, we all know it. And Tammy's not afraid to confront Kelly about this.
I don't want to come off mean or anything, because I'm really happy that you had your time with him, but you did cheat throughout the obstacle course.
Anything you'd like to say about being a big cheater, Kelly? Kelly is like, oh, I mean, I honestly didn't know that was happening. I was just going for it, didn't realize there were like these strict rules for me to follow, which let me just say, yes. Kelly did cheat, and maybe that was unintentional. We don't know. But the real villain here is production. They could have just disqualified Kelly and given it to Tammy, but the Bachelor production team wants these women to lose it. You think Tammy and Cheyenne are upset now? Wait till they learn that the hotel they're at right now is the hotel where Kelly and Peter met for the first time. That's right, even though Kelly already got her time up in the air, she interrupts Cheyenne's time with Peter to recreate how her and Peter first met. They are really putting Cheyenne through the ringer on this show. At the end of the night, Peter says in front of the entire group, wow, can't believe we're here where Kelly and I first had that initial spark. Anyway, here's the group date rose, Kelly. Peter, you are setting this woman up to be slaughtered in the house. You have to know that. The next day, we have our first one-on-one with Maddie Pruitt.
In between you and the Bachelor are going to be all the other girls. Right. I want you to do whatever it takes to get from right here to right here.
A little bit about Maddie. She is a 4-time state basketball champion from Auburn, Alabama. And overall, from what we see of her on this first episode, she just seems like a very sweet, wholesome gal. For the first one-on-one, Peter takes Maddie to his parents' house, which is also his house. He lives with his parents, for his parents' vow renewal. Let me just say that as a concept for a first date, going to a stranger's house for his parents' vow renewal, surrounded by his closest family members, and a production crew following my every move, that's probably the worst conceivable first date there could be, personally. But Maddie, like I said, is a very sweet and seemingly pretty outgoing person, so she handles it like the basketball champ that she is.
Got a special one right there. That's Madison.
Also, before we move on, Peter is the one who renews his parents' vows.
Mom and Dad, surprise, I'm an ordained minister now.
And as some of you may know, I recently got engaged. Hello. Oh, it's not in focus. There it is. Peter. I'm talking specifically to Peter Weber now. Everyone else, ignore me. Peter Weber, the Bachelor, Dan and I will fly you out. We'll give you anything you want if you marry us. I'll even become a United Airlines rewards member. You set the date, Peter. We will make it work. And frankly, I will accept nothing less, except for John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones, I know you're local, not to be creepy, but we could also make something work. Would love to have John Paul Jones. But Peter, please remember, I asked for you first. And maybe, Peter, if you are watching this part, maybe don't watch the rest of the video because I probably will make fun of you just a little bit, but my DMs are open, thank you. Also, before we move on from Maddie's one-on-one date, we do have to talk about some outside the show drama because it's so good. So it's pretty normal for Bachelor contestants to post pictures of their one-on-ones the night it airs on TV, right? Well, when this episode aired, Madison did just that. Under the picture she posted, there was a comment from Madison Pruitt. Yes, from herself, that said, "Beautiful date, Maddie. You are so genuine and real." I thought this was the funniest thing when I saw this 4 years ago, and it still gets me today. Because the thing is, Maddie didn't just admit to having a fan account of herself. Instead, a friend commented, "Oops, I accidentally was logged into Maddie's account," and Maddie replied being like, "Oops, that's no big deal, my friend who's totally real. Happens to the best of us." So yes, that is the official story that Maddie has went with. She had a friend who was helping her clean up her Instagram accounts, and that friend accidentally commented on Maddie's picture logged in under Maddie's account. Oh my god, Maddie would never have a fan account of herself. You're crazy. But honestly, what a friend to lie on Maddie's behalf like that. So genuine and real of that friend to do, if that friend even is real. Anyways, second group date time. The women on this date are taken into a dark theater when suddenly they spot the silhouette of something in the shadows. Is it Chris Harrison? Freddie Fazbear? Nope, just Hannah Brown.
The beast is back, bitches.
They are certainly making the most out of Hannah Brown's Bachelorette contract, that's for sure. Hannah is up on the stage and she proceeds to tell the story about how, yes, she dated this guy Peter, and they sure did in that windmill several times. So ladies, that is the group date challenge today. You have to write and prepare an embarrassing sex story to present in front of a live studio audience. But the women on this group date are flabbergasted. Hannah Brown? Again? Why is she here? Is she still into Peter?
Does she still like him a little bit? She keeps showing up.
More importantly, is Peter still into Hannah? Wait, actually, where is Peter? While his women are writing their little sex stories, Peter walks past a green room and sees Hannah Brown in tears. He immediately takes her in his arms and asks what's wrong, as any platonic friend would do, I'm sure. Hannah Brown is crying because she still has feelings for Peter, and seeing him again as the Bachelor is just tearing her up inside. So Peter asks, well, if that's true, how come you didn't ask me out after the show? How come you only asked out Tyler C? I mean, that guy left you for Gigi Hadid and you didn't call me once?
You know, you asked Tyler out in the last episode. Did it ever cross your mind, maybe ask me instead for that, or?
Hannah says, well, I thought you wanted to be the Bachelor. I didn't want to ruin that for you. Peter is in disbelief at that. He says, after everything that happened, if you had asked me out, I would have given it a shot. I don't care about being the Bachelor. Can you imagine watching this conversation after it premiered as a woman who competed on his season? The absolute horror. But Peter continues.
Do you regret sending me home at all in Crete?
Yeah, Peter, I question it all the time.
You just know internally in that moment, Peter was just doing a little yes, yes. He was thinking about that for the rest of the day. Then Peter says, you know what? Let's turn the insanity of this conversation up to 100.
This is so insane. What would you say if I asked you to come be part of the house?
What will happen at the end of this conversation? Find out next week. Episode 2. We are right back where we left off, and Hannah and Peter are nanometers apart. He has his hand on her back. Mentally, they are already inside of each other. I can't say that. But then Peter says, I can't do this.
I can't do this.
I've got to get back to my girls. Bring back my girls. So he hugs Hannah and he walks away. And did he want to kiss her? Hell yeah.
I wanted to kiss her, yes. That's what I was feeling. That's what I wanted to do.
Does that make him a bad bachelor? Probably. Gather round, ladies, because Peter has quite the story to tell. Peter gets all of the women from his group date who have just this whole time been slaving away at their sex stories, and he says, listen, ladies, just had a talk with my ex-girlfriend, the Hannah Brown, living legend. He says that he got real emotional from that conversation, and he doesn't feel comfortable listening to everyone's sex stories right now. He just wants to go back to his hotel and cry over his ex, and he will see all of you ladies tonight after he pulls himself together. The women collectively are pissed. And I mean, as they should be. Natasha really puts it best.
You gonna cancel a date with these people? The nerve.
When he walks into the evening portion of his date, the women honestly don't even seem that thrilled to see him. He sits down with Natasha and she explains, listen, feelings are feelings, it happens, but we are all here to explore a relationship with you and are excited to meet you. And you shouldn't be figuring out your feelings about your ex at the expense of everyone else here. That's not fair.
It was unfortunate how that happened, but I'm telling you right now, I am moving forward, and Hannah B is in the past.
Do you think Peter believes the things that he says? Peter is at least able to turn this date around, and he even gets to make out with McKenna and Sydney before giving Sydney the group date rose. The next night is the final cocktail party before the rose ceremony, and we have Kelsey. Kelsey is a professional clothier from Iowa, and she is really excited to pop a very special bottle of champagne with Peter tonight. She was originally planning on opening it with him night one, but they ran out of time. They didn't get to talk, and Kelsey didn't get to go on any of the dates this week either, so she's just really excited for this time with Peter and for that champagne. And if anything bad happens to this champagne, Kelsey will lose it. So Kelsey goes and sets up the bottle of champagne outside, and as she's going back into the house to get her man, she discovers the Canadian fashion blogger McKenna has already stolen him. She got to spend half a date with him already. She can't just do that. So Kelsey waits until McKenna comes back. McKenna comes back holding a bottle of maple syrup and whipped cream for reasons unknown. Perhaps that's just what all Canadians have on their person at all times. Kelsey says, hey girl, want to have a chat? McKenna already on the verge of tears just at that question, which is something I strongly identify with. Kelsey says, hey, it was disrespectful, McKenna, that you got to pull Peter when I was looking forward to drinking my champagne with him. And McKenna says, right, I totally hear you and respect you. I was actually just pulling him for some quick maple syrup fun right now so that, Kelsey, you would have plenty of time with him later on. Please don't be mad at me, Kelsey.
Time later tonight, like a night. What's the difference of me stealing him now and stealing him later? I'm still gonna have that.
Kelsey isn't buying that. She says, don't make excuses.
I feel like there's a disrespect and you disrespected me.
And at the end of the day, does Kelsey think McKenna is a lying little snake who stole her moment?
Do I think she's a snake and sneaky? Yeah, absolutely.
Kelsey is now distraught.
I don't tolerate snakes. I don't like them. They're my least favorite animal.
One of the other girls, Alea, helps hype Kelsey up, and she reapplies Kelsey's makeup so that Kelsey is once again ready to pop open that cold bottle of champagne with her man. So Kelsey is outside sitting with the other girls, explaining how excited she is when disaster strikes.
All right, you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
This might make a mess.
Oh, I'm so excited to hear. What was that?
Hannah Ann has popped open her bottle of champagne. Kelsey walks over to confirm her worst fear.
Excuse me?
It's true. She immediately runs into the bathroom, crying, and refuses to see Peter when he chases after her. Tammy walks over to Hannah Ann, who is just very confused because, like Peter, all she saw was Kelsey walk up, then run crying into the mansion. Tammy explains that this was a very special bottle of champagne, and the look on Hannah Ann's face, she realizes that she fucked up. Genuinely, I do believe Hannah Ann had no idea this was Kelsey's bottle, and we'll get into why, but just wait. Peter walks back over to Hannah Ann and is like, well, that was weird. Kelsey refuses to talk to me. Don't know what that's all about. And right then, Kelsey comes storming back out to let Hannah Ann have it. She says, don't try to play dumb, Hannah Ann. I brought this bottle all the way from Des Moines. You know what you did, Hannah Ann.
Don't try to play dumb.
I didn't know.
You knew.
I didn't.
Before Hannah Ann can even respond to that, Kelsey is off once again to cry into the night. This time, however, Peter follows her into another area where Kelsey knocks over a second bottle of champagne. Now, why was there a second bottle of champagne just sitting out there that no one claims? Kinda seems like Bachelor production set out 2 bottles of champagne, told Hannah Ann that she could open one, just so Hannah Ann would accidentally open Kelsey's and cause Kelsey to have a huge breakdown. Just a theory, a Bachelor theory, but I believe it. Listen, Kelsey has had a rough night. At this point, she needs a swig of that champagne.
Okay.
I'm not a classy bitch all the time, so
There we
it's
go.
fine.
All right, show me what you
All
got.
right, I get.
Oh.
When I saw this happen for the first time, I just thought, I am going to watch every episode of this franchise that ever airs now, even if it kills me. Because how good was that?
Oh.
That's high art. Even though Hannah Ann is swearing up and down that she didn't know it was Kelsey's champagne, Kelsey is insistent. Hannah Ann knew that was her bottle of champagne and she opened it anyways. Hannah Ann tries to walk up and talk to Kelsey, but Kelsey is immediately like, "Get the fuck away from me, Hannah Ann. I don't want to talk to you." So later that night, Hannah Ann tries again to talk to Kelsey. So Hannah Ann walks up again and tries to talk to Kelsey, and Kelsey starts going, "Honey, I'm real, you're calculated. I'm tired of this pretty princess stuff." And Hannah Ann is trying to explain like there were 2 bottles of champagne, it was a mix-up, but Kelsey is like not letting her get a word in. And so eventually, after Kelsey calls Hannah Ann a bunch of names, Hannah Ann is like, "Okay, I respect your opinion, we're moving forward." And Kelsey says this.
We're moving forward.
I'm not, but it's because I'm not a fake bitch.
Listen, I understand Kelsey being upset. I cry so easily. I'm not one to ever judge about her having big emotions, but I think we can all agree that she didn't have to do all that. Not over a bottle of champagne, and certainly not over Peter. But before Kelsey can come even close to emotionally recovering from all of this, we have another rose ceremony. Hannah Ann and Kelsey do both get roses, but these are the women no longer with us. It feels so wrong to have a rose ceremony in the middle of the episode, but we have a lot more content to cover. Our next group date is a Revolve fashion show with Carson Kressley and Janice Dickinson. These women must choose 2 Revolve looks to rock down the runway, and the winner will receive over 40 bags of Revolve clothes.
This is like Pretty Woman, like, but not the bad part.
I mean, screw the engagement at the end. Let's just make this the grand prize of The Bachelor from here on out. I mean, come on, I want that hat Hannah Ann is wearing right now. Oh, how'd that happen? I mean, I guess I'll keep it on. The women are very excited about this group date, especially Hannah Ann, because I mean, she's a model. This is gonna look great on her resume. But one woman in particular is struggling.
I'm meek and shy, so I'm probably gonna get lost in the crowd.
If it's a room full of people, I'm
Victoria F. feels like she just disappears in a crowd, and she just doesn't know how to be confident in front of Peter and all of these other beautiful women. But she gets a pep talk from Kelsey and realizes that she can, in fact, slay the house down boots. Victoria F. walks the runway and she grabs Peter from the crowd and gives him a big ol' kiss. I love how Hannah Ann straight up looks like a Disney DCOM villain in this shot, outfit and all. Janice Dickinson picks Hannah Ann and Victoria Fuller for the final walk-off, and they must both strut their stuff in a dress only slightly uglier than the rest of the stuff we've seen up until this point. But unfortunately for Victoria F., Hannah Ann is quite literally a professional model, and she kills it. She is practically cutting Victoria up the way she's flicking that sequin skirt around. Hannah Ann wins, and Victoria F. runs out to cry.
Always her. I'm done. I don't want to be here anymore. He can be with Hannah. I'm done. I'm going home. I'm done.
It seems whatever confidence she had during that runway has gone right back down. That night, Victoria F. talks to Peter about how her confidence is really shaken from that day. She says that she doesn't know if she's cut out for all of this and the toll that it takes on her mental health, which, trust me, no one is cut out for this. This show is designed to make everyone mentally unwell. Even though she says that there's so many beautiful girls and she doesn't feel special, Peter assures her that he sees something in her. And even though he knows this isn't easy for her, he appreciates her putting herself out there. Now come on, Victoria, don't be wet from sadness anymore. Only happiness. Next, Peter pulls Kelsey, and what does she have there? Another bottle of champagne. Kelsey is basically trying to play it cool and act like she didn't have a giant meltdown yesterday, which in fairness is probably the best strategy, all things considered. But back on the couch, Hannah Ann is telling all of the other girls that she was up all night crying over what happened. We saw Kelsey was calling her names, it ruined her night, and Hannah Ann feels like she was bullied. Even though Hannah Ann initially thought she could put this behind her, she wasn't going to mention it tonight, Hannah Ann has to tell Peter how Kelsey made her feel. Hannah Ann sits down with Peter and tells him everything Kelsey said about her that night, and he is not happy about it. Pilot Pete does not tolerate bullying of any kind. The group date rose goes to Victoria F, but Peter pulls Kelsey aside afterwards for a quick chat. So Kelsey, would you say that you're a bully, perhaps? Kelsey does not exactly help herself with her answer. She's just like, Hannah Ann knows what she did. I don't like her and she knows what she did.
I didn't have a problem with her until she did what she did, and she knew what she did.
And Peter is like, well, Hannah Ann is saying that it was an accident and a misunderstanding. And Kelsey's like, I don't believe it for a second. But just because Kelsey doesn't like Hannah Ann and called her a bunch of mean names, that doesn't mean that Kelsey is a bully.
There's a difference between me saying not nice words to her face and constantly bullying somebody.
Kelsey walks back to the rest of the group and the girls are like, hey, Kelsey, you doing okay? And Kelsey says, no, apparently I'm bullying people. The episode ends with the entire group of women just actively disassociating. The Champagne Gate drama is not over. Episode 3. We open with Kelsey and Hannah Ann in tears. Hannah Ann doesn't want people to think she stole champagne because she would never do that. And Kelsey doesn't think that being called a bully is okay whatsoever. The two talk in circles about this fiasco for far too long.
After the fiasco of the champagne stealing incident, you were calling me bitch?
We don't even see them like agree to disagree. They just move on from this conversation.
That was
It's not
enormous.
about the champagne.
Oh, okay, it's not about the champagne anymore.
I don't even really like champagne.
I mean, it really is a fiasco. There's no other way to put it. The one-on-one this week is with Victoria P. Victoria P is former Miss Louisiana, and she's a nurse at a dermatology office. And from what we see on this date, she seems like a really sweet woman who really just wants the happy family that she didn't get as a kid. And Pilot Pete assures her that she deserves it all. Then they go and make out in an airplane because, you know, Pilot Pete, because he's a pilot. Meanwhile, back at the mansion, Alea is wine drunk and letting everyone know that even though she used to be Miss Texas and she can be real prim and proper, she's low-key a freak, kind of a baddie.
You got a wild side to you? Yeah, dude. Bro, I get nasty.
Alea's giving the energy of a woman who saw like a drag show once at a bachelorette party, and honestly, we love that for her. Well, most of us do.
All I go off of is what I see in people. With Alea, I could tell something's off about that girl.
Sydney says something's not right about that girl. She's fake. Honestly, if being a little obnoxious after having a glass of wine makes you fake, lock me up, officer. Honestly, lock up most white women if we're being so serious. But the next morning, the girls are woken up by Bachelor Nation's resident bisexual, Demi.
I'm back, bitches!
Demi has brought her friends champagne and killer, and they have some lingerie for all the girls to wear.
We got these bags with our names on them.
Oh, yeah.
Oh. And inside of it was like a cute pajama lingerie set.
While they're on the bus driving over to this group date with Peter, Peter asks if these are these women's real pajamas.
Is this actually how you sleep?
No.
He's really starting to make me question if the windmill story is even true at this point. So for the group date today, these girls must absolutely annihilate one another for Peter's pleasure. And of course, who should be in the final round but Sydney and Alea. Sydney's energy on this group date is not the kindest, you could say.
Having a history in pageants, I think Alea's gonna be worried too much about messing her hair up.
And this fight gets nasty. They are going in, but in the end, Alea wins.
And then she just starts to sit on me. What am I supposed to do?
elephant sitting on a rat. How are you gonna get up?
I genuinely believe that if Sydney had won this pillow fight, the course of history would be completely different. But here we are. We move on to the evening portion of this date, and Alea is feeling good. Kind of weird that Sydney was so aggro with her, but whatever. Alea's having a great time.
Sydney saw red and was like going at it. So I don't really know what's going on there.
Alea goes and has a nice chat with Peter, and Peter and Alea are feeling really good about their connection. This could be something. But then Alea and Sydney have this conversation. Do you like work at all?
I have 3 jobs. Do you work?
I didn't know. Some girls are like, their job is being like Miss Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally get that. Like for Miss USA, you have to quit your job. Like you can't have a job.
Do you feel like you keep a lot of that in you to this day? Like the pageantry and the training and all that?
Yeah. People tend to keep calling me out on that. Like you're always so prim and proper and perfect. And I'm just like, I'm so used to it.
Yeah.
Like that's just kind of been my life for 8 years. And I've always been a title holder. Like I've held several titles. And so I'm so used to being that.
Knowing what to say, the right thing to say, the right way to look.
And knowing how not to offend anybody when I'm saying things. And like, you know, if I don't want to answer a question, how to answer without answering. Like those things are easy for me.
Opening up and being your true core is kind of hard. You sound so rehearsed and so like on, you know what I mean? And if cameras, you're just like on. But if you come in worrying about how you're going to be perceived, then you're not going to be your real self to Peter. And like that's what he's here to find, is like a real person who knows what he wants. He's here to figure it out. I don't know. Okay, this may be an unpopular take, but honestly, I don't get what Sydney is on about at all. I think if Alea was truly some master manipulator and fake all the time, she wouldn't be openly talking about it with Sydney on camera. I think Alea is just kind of a bubbly person who acts a little more extra when the cameras are around, and that doesn't seem that weird to me. Honestly, it just seems like Sydney doesn't like Alea's personality and is trying to find some rational reason for why.
Do you like work at all?
I have 3 jobs.
But Sydney isn't done. Sydney sits down with Peter, and Peter's like, oh my gosh, Sydney, you're so great. Sydney's like, oh, wow, it's weird that you think I'm great because some other people you like in this house, you like way more than me, are the complete opposite of me. So like, I don't even get why you would like me. And Peter's like, what do you mean, Sydney? And Sydney's like, well, you know, there are some people in the house who just act like 2 different people when the cameras are on. And I would hate for you to, you know, fall in love with a fake version of somebody. I won't name names though. And this comment makes Peter spiral. Remember, Peter was on Hannah Brown's season of The Bachelorette. He's seen firsthand how someone can fall for someone who is fake, acts one way to get what they want, and then treats people like shit behind the scenes. That's not out of the realm of possibilities. He needs to address this immediately. So he sits down with the whole group and says, Sydney, say it with your chest. Who here is a fake bitch? I want to know. Sydney clearly shocked that Peter is putting her on blast like this.
Maybe Alea, like maybe you put on a little bit for the imagery of things.
Alea sits up and is like, well, we all live together. Does anybody else have this concern about me? No response. Peter is like, listen, ladies, don't be fake. Being fake is bad. Sydney, for being so genuine and real tonight, you get the group date rose. Once Peter walks away, Alea is like, what was all that about? Why did this have to be a thing with Peter? Sydney, we literally just had a conversation about this earlier. But Sydney is not backing down. She's like, Alea, come on. Just admit you're kind of a fake ass bitch. Don't deny it.
When the cameras are on, you do react a little too much and it looks a little bit fabricated. That's
you don't know me outside of this.
Alea tries to grab Peter and reassure him that she's here for him and that she's not being fake. But at this point, this is too much for Peter's mind to handle. The next day, there's no cocktail party.
Peter's gonna come over and join you all afternoon for a pool party.
I'm pumped.
Everyone knows that at a bachelor pool party, absolutely no one will be getting near that pool, and that is a damn shame. You only get one opportunity to play mermaids in the bachelor mansion, and I would not squander it if given the chance. But Peter comes over and he is just not bringing the fun pool party vibes. He is starting to doubt this whole journey. That being said, let's have a great party, woo! He grabs Sydney to talk, who is holding her group date rose the entire pool party, by the way, and he says, listen, Sydney, I'm so sorry I put you on the spot yesterday. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Meanwhile, Alea is talking with Hannah Ann and McKenna about how she has no idea where any of this has come from. She's asked everyone in the house and no one has said it's a problem. What Alea doesn't know is that Kelsey, Natasha, and Lexi have all gone to Peter and said, yeah, Alea does kind of act more extra in front of the camera.
All of a sudden, the cameras come on and like her voice goes up like 5 octaves.
My girlfriend makes literally the best spicy margarita, jalapeno margarita. Hi!
Although I do think it's worth noting that Natasha and Lexi are Sydney's closest friends in the house by far, so not necessarily unbiased opinions here. Alea pulls Sydney to try and figure out what exactly was said to Peter, and that conversation does not go well. Sydney is like, do you have emotions, Alea? Are you a robot, Alea? You can't be happy all the time, Alea. Why are you upset, Alea?
Do you have feelings? Do you have emotions other than perfect?
Of course I do. I'm human.
You can't be happy all the time.
Why can't Alea be happy? Why is that a crime?
You don't care who you hurt in this process.
Hurting? I'm not hurting.
You hurt me.
How did I hurt you?
Despite how bad this all looks, Peter and Alea do finally have a conversation and they seem to reach an understanding. Alea is here for Peter. Peter feels a connection. He doesn't want to just go off of what all these girls are saying, and that's that. Drama resolved. Or is it? Victoria P. Yes, that Victoria P, who just went on the one-on-one. Victoria P reveals that Alea and her actually know each other because they both competed for Miss USA.
I probably had spent maybe like collectively 3 hours with her, like together even at Miss USA.
Even though they're not super close, Alea supposedly told Victoria P that they should not tell the producers that they know each other.
And I didn't really understand why. Because I was like, I don't want to lie, I can't lie.
And Victoria P just doesn't lie like that. She would never do that, not at all. Victoria P also critically says that Alea has talked about being excited about social media opportunities that come from being on the show.
Maybe she's not the one for you.
Which, for the record, I think everyone who goes on this show in like the last 10 years is at least a little bit excited about possibly being an influencer after it. And I think for at least half of them, that's like the primary goal for going on the show. But if you actually say that out loud in this franchise, you're toast. You're done. You're not here for the right reasons. Go start your tequila business elsewhere. Peter is shocked. He just went on a great date with Victoria P. He trusts her. She seems so sweet. Why would she lie about something like this? So Peter pulls Alea again. And Alea really doesn't seem to pick up on the vibe of this conversation.
Are we going back to our spot?
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a sacred spot. This was like our first talking spot. We came through like a difficult talk in this spot.
Peter asks Alea if it's true that she asked Victoria to lie.
Did you tell Victoria to tell the producers you guys didn't know each other before you came on the show?
She says Victoria P and her are friends. Not that they've known each other for 3 hours. Alea says that they are friends outside of this. And because they were close and did know each other, Alea thought that them knowing each other would bar one or both of them from going on the show. So according to Alea, it wasn't for any sort of malicious intent. It was just so her and Victoria could both see if they were right for Peter. And although this isn't mentioned, I do also wonder if the drama from Colton's season of The Bachelor had anything to do with this, because that was pretty recent. During Colton's season of The Bachelor, Hannah Brown and this woman Kaylin were pitted against each other on the show, basically because they competed together in Miss USA and had a bunch of drama. And it became a big story arc for both of them on the show and made a lot of people not like either of them early on. Maybe Alea saw what happened with that and didn't want to give producers ammunition to pit her against one of the other contestants she knew, because it would probably end with them fighting. Just generally speaking, I'm all for not telling Bachelor producers things because they're not on your side. They aren't. But to Peter, this is the biggest betrayal. He can get past people like Sydney or Alexi saying Alea is a little fake, but Victoria P's words carry weight. And now he doesn't know what to do. He leaves the pool party without so much as dipping his little toes in. And now McKenna is crying. Wait, why is McKenna crying?
And I didn't get that chance to even express how I felt or like show more of me. I have so much to give and so much to offer.
I am absolutely convinced that McKenna stayed on the show as long as she did for her facial expressions alone. Give this woman her EGOT, because she looks like she's at the reaping ceremony for the Hunger Games in this rose ceremony. With 2 roses left on the table and McKenna and Alea roseless, Peter walks out of the ceremony. When he comes back in, Chris Harrison takes one of the roses away. It is time for Peter to really choose, and he picks
McKenna?
Alea is heartbroken, and she feels that her closest friend in the house, Victoria P, has betrayed her. And just when you think it's all over, we cut to Peter having a conversation with the producer.
I don't know if I want to let him leave right now. Like, I don't feel good right now. I don't feel good.
He regrets sending Alea home. He just did it because he felt like everyone wanted him to. Now what's he gonna do? Episode 4. The next day, the girls are all enjoying a sunny day at the mansion, celebrating the departure of Alea when out comes Chris Harrison.
Hi.
Y'all come on in. We're making biscuits.
Biscuits?
But it turns out making biscuits was just a trick, a clever ruse to get all the girls in the house at once. Chris Harrison announces we're leaving the mansion. Pack your bags, ladies, because we are going to Cleveland, Ohio.
Peter's gonna meet you in Cleveland, Ohio.
This episode of The Bachelor is most definitely sponsored by Cleveland, Ohio.
We walked downtown and it was just stunning.
I was not expecting Cleveland to be this nice.
It's a great city.
It really is kind of like one of the best kept secrets.
The first one-on-one goes to Victoria F, which, as usual, is very upsetting for McKenna.
For him to not really see me, to not know my heart, and like who I am would like really suck.
I think it's just safe to assume for like your viewing knowledge that anytime a one-on-one is announced, McKenna is crying in the corner because she did not get picked. And the Bachelor producers are really trying to break this woman down. Victoria F is terrified that Peter is going to make her skydive on this one-on-one. Given the Bachelor's track record of terrifying their contestants, it's not an unreasonable fear. Victoria F is literally having a breakdown in the car while Peter is just like standing on the tarmac, head empty.
Are we skydiving? No, I can't. I'm not kidding. I'm literally drooling. I can't like breathe.
But it turns out we're not skydiving. We're going in a plane. Again. It's almost like he's a pilot or something. Peter is taking Victoria Fuller to Cedar Point, the huge amusement park in Cleveland, and they have the entire place to themselves. Peter is just having the time of his life with Victoria, and he makes what will be an incredibly on-the-nose observation about their relationship.
Our relationship is just kind of like a roller coaster. We're doing that slow climb to the top, but it's steady. And we're getting close to the top right now.
Oh, Peter, just you wait. But that's not all. To end this perfect date, we're going to have a private concert because Peter knows Victoria F loves country music. And little does he know just how much Victoria loves country music.
We turn the corner. I see Chase, my ex-boyfriend.
What in the Tumblr YN fanfiction is happening right now? Do you think Chase Rice saw Victoria F in the crowd reading Catcher in the Rye and just instantly fell in love? But you can see from the look on Victoria's face and Chase's face, they are both mortified. Not Peter though. Peter's having a great time.
Are you two having a good time tonight?
I do think Victoria F's choice to sing along to the song is a lot.
You know this song.
Yeah, she knows the song. It's probably about her.
Yeah, I'm lonely if you are. Yeah.
Chase Rice, I hope you got a fat check for this nonsense. Because this is objectively the juiciest drama we've gotten just from a musical guest, the show also airs Peter and Chase making awkward small talk while Victoria F is breaking down with the producer. Victoria is panicking because Chase Rice told her not to go on the show. And even though this is an incredibly awkward scenario, I feel like if Victoria had just laughed it off and told Peter casually, this wouldn't be such a big deal. Everyone has exes, even country musicians. Actually, especially country musicians. Victoria having such a big reaction to it kind of makes it seem like there's something more going on here than maybe there is. After Peter and Chase start a Snapchat streak, Peter and Victoria are off to the dinner portion of their date. Peter is still having a grand old time.
If things keep going like this, you know, we could have Chase Rice singing at our wedding. There you go. You never know.
But Victoria has to tell Peter the truth. She has a really hard time getting the words out. But honestly, Peter's reaction to it all kind of slays me.
Chase and I used to date. Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Peter and I are on the same wavelength right now, where he just thinks the situation is kind of funny, but Victoria F is like breaking down, so he has to contain himself. Victoria runs off to cry in the corner, and Peter goes over to comfort her. Victoria really just seems more insecure than anything, but Peter assures Victoria that she didn't do anything wrong, it was just an awkward situation, and we can all be happy and move on. The next day, 13 girls are on a group date, and Peter is real pumped about it.
Yes. Yeah, baby. Woo! Are you ready for some football?
He is making these women play full contact football. Well, most of them. Victoria P conveniently says that she has a back injury, so sadly, she has to just sit on the sidelines and get massages from Peter, while the rest of these women get head trauma. But this game has some high stakes. The team that wins today gets to spend the evening with Peter, whereas the losers will get sent back to their sad Ohio hotel room to think about what they did. On top of that, they have to be mansplained to about how winning points good, less points bad, by a pro NFL player.
We can't let them run and make a touchdown, because they make a touchdown, then they score, and then we're at a disadvantage.
Sheehan hears this and she says, okay, this is serious. You want me to bring it? I'll bring it.
If we win this, we get more time with Peter. We get to go to the cocktail party. That means everything to me. This is why I'm here. I'm here to win his heart. I'm here to get more time. I'm not going home.
Sheehan honestly has a future in the NFL because she scores all 4 of the touchdowns for her team. But you know who else didn't come to mess around? Deandra. There's 10 seconds on the clock. Deandra's team has 21 points. Sheehan's team has 28 points. Deandra catches the ball and she runs the entire way to the end zone.
It's a completion to Deandra.
You're still up! You're still up! Go! Deandra!
And there goes Deandra into the end zone.
I'm not even joking here. It was actually like an incredible play, and I would actually watch football all the time, only if it was Sheehan and Deandra playing. So it's a tie. All 13 women now have to fight over Peter at the cocktail party. Yay! Sheehan's team is pissed. They were like, stop the count. We were winning up until like 2 seconds before the game was over. This sucks. So the girls on the pink team are like, okay, Sheehan, you are our MVP. You are getting time with Peter first tonight. And if anyone gets in your way, we will personally tackle them for you. Okay, Sheehan? Well, it turns out these ladies aren't exactly true to their word because they let Victoria P steal Peter away without so much as a headbutt. Victoria P wasn't even playing. She was just snuggled up on the sidelines. Like, what the hell? But finally, Sheehan gets her time with Peter to explain how she really feels undervalued in this process. And it feels like every time that she goes to talk to Peter, her time is interrupted in favor of other women. And she's really not wrong either. Boy, it would suck if another woman who already went home came walking in the loudest footwear possible right now.
Shut the front door!
Wait, what?
That's right. Alea is back. She has risen, like Jesus himself. Nothing says I'm here to set the record straight like a leather jacket. Alea means business. Alea comes in and interrupts Sheehan's time because, God forbid, the show gives Sheehan a single break. Alea and Peter need to talk. Right now. Alea says, listen, Peter, I feel like you let yourself be manipulated by the other women. Now it's time for me to manipulate you. I was shocked that Victoria P told you we barely knew each other. When that's just not the truth, Ellen. We planned a trip to Las Vegas together. There are pictures. We were texting up until we got on this show. I watched her win Miss Louisiana. She's my friend, Peter, and she stabbed me in the back. Well, Peter's gonna have to go talk to Victoria P about this one. Peter walks over to Victoria P and says, hey girl, Alea is here, and she's saying that you guys are friends? You said that you only knew her for a total of 3 hours. What's up with that? And Victoria P suddenly is like, I mean, I guess, well, we did plan a trip to Las Vegas together. Did I not mention that before?
Why did you tell me that you weren't friends with her then?
I'm baffled.
I'm baffled because you literally, like, you told me something that, like, I had no reason not to trust this.
But also, Peter, I shared my heart with you, and I can't believe you would say all of this to me right now. This is my truth, and just like that, you're taking Alea's side, and I can't have it. Suddenly, Victoria P is too hysterical to give a straight answer. So Peter's like, Jesus Christ, okay, let's just all sit down together and figure it out together, shall we? Victoria P walks over to Alea and hugs her. The vibes of this conversation are so off. Victoria P is like wiping away tears in Alea's eyes, while Alea is very straightforwardly explaining why it's very obvious that they know each other, and she doesn't get why Victoria would act like they were strangers and sell Alea out.
And that is what broke me beyond compare, and getting home and knowing that we have so many friends together.
Victoria P has absolutely no answers.
The other woman that spoke up in the house, I will say, like, they said the same thing.
Those people don't know me outside of this, but you do. I don't know.
Now, from my uneducated perspective, it does kind of seem like Alea and Victoria P are kind of lying here. They both said that they had mutual friends. They said they went to Vegas together, but it doesn't seem like they hung out beyond that. They probably were not besties, and maybe Victoria P didn't like Alea as much as Alea originally thought. But to me, it kind of seems like Victoria P saw the writing on the wall, saw how everyone else felt about Alea, saw that Peter was conflicted about her, and took that opportunity to take out some competition, not anticipating that Alea would come back and confront her about it eventually. Meanwhile, back with the rest of the girls, they just saw Alea and Victoria P walk past, and they have no idea what's going on. Deandra says, I just don't get what's happening because Victoria P doesn't lie.
Did you say Victoria doesn't lie?
Yeah. You think she's a liar?
Savannah reveals that off camera, off mic, Victoria P was going around telling everyone that Alea was a terrible person, that she could not be trusted. But during the rose ceremony, Victoria P was holding Alea's hand and acting like her #1 supporter. And Savannah does not fuck with that. Peter honestly seems to have given up on trying to understand what exactly happened between Alea and Victoria P, so instead he just turns his attention to Alea. He says, Alea, listen, I made a mistake letting you go. I listened to everyone else instead of how I felt, and that was wrong. Alea, do you want to come back in the house? Alea says yes, as long as you promise, Peter, that we can put this drama behind us and just focus on us. This will turn out to be one of Peter's biggest mistakes in his run as The Bachelor. Last season, Hannah Brown with Luke P. Yes, she had enough reason to send Luke home much earlier than she did. We all know that. But she was, at a minimum, consistent. She told the guys that they didn't have to get along with Luke, but she wanted to figure it out for herself, even if that was an unpopular opinion. And when she saw this spiraling out of control in the house, she told the guys to stay in their lanes and not worry about the drama. The guys didn't listen perfectly to that, but there was at least some internal logic to Hannah's decision making. And importantly, Hannah Brown never celebrated Luke's shitty behavior. She didn't try to feed into it more in front of the rest of the group. Peter, on the other hand, walks back into the room hand in hand with Alea in front of 13 women who did not get to spend any time with him tonight, even though this was their date. These women have suffered concussions because of this man, and Peter picks up that group date rose and hands it right to Alea, who wasn't even on the date. I don't think Peter should have sent Alea home in the first place if he didn't want to, but if I was one of these women, I would be pissed. And they absolutely are. They are on the verge of unionizing at this point. Alea walks over to McKenna and Hannah Ann and says, hey girls, you're gonna have to catch me up on everything I missed. And McKenna says, oh yeah, well, Kelsey has the one-on-one tomorrow. And Alea's like, oh, I already know that. And I know that Victoria F hooked up with Chase Rice.
I know Victoria F had it yesterday. I know she was dating Chase Rice before the date.
What?
Oh, y'all didn't know that. But the internet knows everything.
Yeah, it turns out Alea has been deep in the Bachelor subreddit since she left the show, and she is back to stir the pot with this new information. The next day, all of the women are talking shit about Alea and Peter.
For him to give her that rose, I just felt was so disrespectful to all of us.
All this drama pushes all of us back.
But then Victoria F learns that Alea has gone around and told all of the women that she hooked up with Chase Rice. Victoria F takes her glass of red wine and storms into Alea's room. And here we see a very different side of Victoria F compared to what we've seen so far, which you know, of course, demands another dramatic performance. Alea, we need to have a conversation. I heard that you were telling people that something about me and Chase leaked. Yeah, so can you explain a little bit more about that and why you felt the need to say that? Well, I had no idea that nobody knew. I mean, it was literally all over the place while I was at home. Well, guess what? No one has their phone here, so why would you expect people to know that? That's something very personal to me, and the fact that you think it's okay to go around to other girls and not to me first is absurd. Okay, well, I didn't go around telling everybody, so then why does everybody know? Do you not see that that's stirring the pot, which is why you left in the first place? You're manipulative. Manipulative. You are not gonna come in here after being sent the home for good reason. Oh my god. And treat. Oh my god. Is that appalling? I don't play this. You're fake. I'm not. And you may think that you're safe because you came back and you got a group date, Rose. I have some very choice words to say to Peter, and he's gonna know who you are as a person. So good luck, honey. It's wild because on one hand, like I said earlier, I felt like the Chase Rice thing was kind of a funny thing, an awkward thing. If I were Alea, I wouldn't have assumed it was some dark secret Victoria F was determined to keep from the other girls. I could get as Alea not really thinking it's a big deal, but at the same time, the way Alea dropped that information, it does feel like she was trying to be a little messy there. But I think the way these women are talking about Alea in the context of what Alea has actually done thus far is wild. You would think Alea had killed Chris Harrison in front of them the way these women hate her.
Whenever she left, he called her manipulative. It was very manipulative to come back here.
And a liar.
As Victoria F and Alea are fighting, Kelsey and Peter are on their first one-on-one. Now Peter has to tell Kelsey that Alea is back in the house. Kelsey is like, oh, I get it. You gotta figure things out. And if it's us in the end, I don't want you to have any regrets. Wait, is this the same Kelsey that screamed at Hannah Ann over a bottle of champagne? Kelsey and Peter actually have a great date, and she really opens up about some genuinely awful things she went through growing up. And is Kelsey actually growing on me? The twist I was not personally expecting, but I'm here for it. We love character development. Finally, after the longest week in Ohio, it is the night of the rose ceremony. Once again, the vibes are rancid. These women are mad, they're sad, they're concussed, and they have some words for Peter. Peter walks in to begin the cocktail party, and he's like, hey ladies, let's keep these good vibes going, shall we? Deandra says, actually, Peter, I'm gonna let you talk real quick, but what you did yesterday was so disrespectful, I couldn't even look you in the face.
Bust our ass out there on the football field, and then for you to come to the cocktail party and ignore us, half of us that didn't get time, it was like the biggest slap in the face, like I couldn't even look at you.
The cut to McKenna with those bruises, that hair clip, the Olivia Wilde nod, kills me. Natasha backs Deandra up. She says, yeah, Peter, that was fucked up. That really hurt. Suddenly, Peter realizes that every woman in this room is about 10 seconds away from walking out on him, and he is straight into sad puppy mode. He says, listen, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just a boy. What was I to do? He tries to grab Victoria P to talk, and she's like, fine, I don't want to talk to you, like, at all, but fine.
Go talk, Victoria.
I don't really want to talk to you right now, but I can, yeah.
You don't want to talk?
I'm just frustrated, and I'm frustrated. We can talk right now.
Why is Victoria P mad when she was the one who got caught lying yesterday? Beats me.
Want to take a seat?
I can't sit, like, I've had days to sit and wonder, like...
Victoria P says, listen, Peter, you are being manipulated. Alea manipulated me, and now she is manipulating you, especially after what happened yesterday. Oh, not my story to tell. Go talk to Victoria F. So Peter pulls Victoria F, and she's like, yeah. Alea told everyone I hooked up with Chase Rice, and I hate her now. Next, Peter talks to Sydney, and Sydney is like, I hate Alea. She sucks. Our relationship cannot progress because Alea is here and I hate her. Peter finally pulls Alea, and he's like, what the fuck is actually happening? Why do these women hate you? Alea is crying, and she says, I don't know. At first, they didn't like that I had a big personality, but now I'm not even speaking, and they're still screaming at me. The way these women gang up on Alea is rough to watch.
I didn't come back for petty. That's not why I came back.
That's exactly why you came back.
She came back for Peter.
No, she didn't. She came back to clear her name.
There is truly nothing Alea can say at this point that would squash this drama. Meanwhile, Peter...
I'm just like, oh my God, so much disappointment.
Peter Peter is breaking down because suddenly all these women aren't madly in love with him. Will these women fully unionize and oust Peter and Alea from the show permanently? Find out next week on a 3-hour special. Good God. Episode 5. The women are still fighting.
Stay in your lane. Like,
Come at me and I'm done for you.
I don't think she's here for a relationship with Peter.
Yeah.
I think it's for the rose and to be on TV.
It is.
Peter pulls Alea aside again for another conversation, and he says, listen, Alea, you know how I let you back on the show after sending you home and I promised we would move past this? Well, I changed my mind. I'm actually sending you home again right now. And Alea is like, honestly, yes, get me out of here. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Why am I in Ohio right now? As Peter is walking Alea out, the women are like, oh, there's Peter and Alea walking hand in hand. Disgusting. Wait, he's sending her home? Did we do that? Oh no, he's upset? Are we the drama? Oh well.
Hand in hand. The disrespect.
There's a car here. Wait, is she going home?
No.
Is she going home?
No.
No.
Seriously, watching just how heartbroken and broken down Alea is at the end of the night, like these women were not kind to her. After pacing around Cleveland, Ohio to gather his thoughts, Peter walks back into the house, and in my mind, the sad walking song from the Peanuts cartoon is playing right now. Peter is like, listen, ladies, I respect all of you. All women are queens. I trust all of your opinions, and I hope you can forgive me for liking Alea. Natasha, can we talk? Peter says to Natasha, I'm surprised you haven't already left. And Natasha is like, we all thought about it. We sure do all hate you. Ooh, but we heard next week we're going to Costa Rica, so we're still here.
I'm surprised you haven't left me yet.
Trust me, it has crossed lots of minds.
Oh boy.
Peter spends the rest of this evening trying to scrounge up any semblance of a relationship with these women before moving into the next ceremony. And these are the women he sends home this week, including Deandra, the absolute football legend. Deandra was robbed, I don't want to talk about it. But even if half these women don't like Peter anymore, stay excited because we're going to Costa Rica, baby.
Ladies, get excited. We're going to Costa Rica.
But before the dates can start, we have a little medical emergency. Peter had to get 22 stitches on his face because as he was walking through the Costa Rica jungle, he ran into a wild puma and had to kill it to survive.
And immediately I just like lock eyes with it. And my animal instinct took over.
Just kidding, Peter's so crazy. Peter hit his head on a golf cart, then smashed his head into the glass he was holding. So now when Peter looks back at his time as the Bachelor, he can say that the experience scarred him both mentally and physically. The first one-on-one this week is with Sydney. And other than Sydney accidentally giving Peter a concussion, the date goes well.
Learn about Sydney and what makes Sydney Sydney. Oh, ow, ow.
Are you serious? Oh my God, you're shaking. Are you okay?
But back at the hotel, Kelsey is in her feelings. Even though Kelsey just had her one-on-one with Peter last week, she's really having a hard time seeing other women go on dates with him because after that one-on-one, she's starting to fall in love with Peter. And yeah, given the situation that the show puts people in, her feelings are pretty normal, even if Kelsey is more expressive about her emotions than a lot of other people. Nothing wrong with crying, at least I think so. Tammy disagrees. I know we haven't talked much about Tammy these past few episodes. Tammy, for the most part, has really been reserved for like quirky one-liners leading up to rose ceremonies.
If I do get a rose, I'll be so freaking happy. I'm gonna do cartwheels, I'm gonna twerk, and I'm going to just eat all the cheese that I can eat.
We've never actually seen like her relationship with Peter, but when the Champagne Gate drama was going down, Tammy was right in the center of it. She was comforting Kelsey and Hannah Ann during that, and she seemed to take a suspicious amount of pride in her ability to sort of play both sides in this situation. This time she's again sitting with Kelsey and trying to say, hey, you know, this is what we signed up for. But Kelsey is in her feels, she's a little tipsy, and she's not cheering up anytime soon. Kelsey says it's especially sad seeing Peter go on dates with other women, especially women like Sydney. Wait, why doesn't Kelsey like Sydney?
I like Sydney a lot. I think she's cool. But she's a dramatic bitch. She tries to play this whole like, oh, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, yeah, that was weird. Seems like Kelsey needs to take it easy tonight. But Tammy starts going around to everyone at the house and saying, oh my God, do you see Kelsey crying and drowning her sorrows in alcohol? Me, Tammy, I'm so nice trying to comfort Kelsey. Meanwhile, Kelsey is just drinking herself to death.
It sucks. but I'm not gonna cry my eyes over it over 10 bottles of wine.
See, the idea that Tammy was just there to comfort Kelsey falls kind of flat when she immediately takes that and starts talking shit to everyone in the house. But the next day for the group date, the girls are finally not doing a physical activity. They are doing a jungle photo shoot for Cosmo, and the winner of today's group date will be on the cover of Cosmo magazine with Peter. Hannah Ann is ready to expand that portfolio. But also, let's talk about the Bachelor editing team. The women for this date are wearing bikinis. Tell me why the Bachelor production team felt the need to censor their butts with what could only be MS Paint? Graphic design is their passion. And the winner of the group date is Victoria F. Now, are you in a good place to receive some bad news? When I was watching this show for the first time, I remember Dan and I finished the first episode, and I met up with a friend like for brunch the next day. And my friend asked, "Oh, who do you like so far?" I said, "Oh, Victoria F seems really sweet and pretty." And my friend said, "Oh no, you don't have Twitter, do you?" As it turns out, Victoria F had done some modeling before going on The Bachelor. She did some modeling for an organization that supports the protection of marlins, specifically white marlins. The way this organization chose to market themselves was with a White Lives Matter shirt and hat. About white marlins lives matter. What did the Marlins do to get dragged into this exactly? And when people found these photos of Victoria F promoting a brand with Confederate and White Lives Matter imagery, her initial response was not good. In an Instagram comment, she said, "Hello, Bachelor Clues and followers. It would be nice for you to gather all facts before jumping to bash someone. The company We Love Marlins is in support of catching white, blue, and black marlins and releasing them back into the wild. In regards to a sensitive topic, I come from a very diverse background and am in support of all races. Virginia Beach is a very large fishing town where marlin tournaments are held every year. Glad to clear this up." And in a reply, she said, "I definitely see how this could be offensive. I apologize immensely. It was never my intention to lessen this matter." People found this before even the first episode premiered. And so when this episode premiered, when they announced that Victoria F had won the show, Cosmo pulled the cover, stating unequivocally the White Lives Matter movement does not reflect the values of the Cosmo brand. We stand in solidarity with Black Lives Matter and any cause that fights to end injustices for people of color. It was at this point that Victoria released a Notes app apology on her story, saying, "I would like to sincerely apologize for my involvement with We Love Marlins. My intention was only to support an endangered species. I want to say that I unequivocally reject the beliefs of the White Lives Matter movement or any propaganda that supports racism of any kind. I would like to specifically apologize to people of color that are affected by racism daily. It was never my intention to add fuel to the racial fire in this country. This has truly been an educational moment for me, and I hope to be a voice against racism moving forward. I hope I can be shown grace as I navigate through this process." And to be clear, that alone was enough to make me pull back on my Victoria F stand-up, but it turns out there were even more allegations around Victoria F, which, unlike the racism allegations, will actually be discussed on the show later on. So hold on to that. I realize this took quite a turn, but honestly, the most exhausting part of watching the Bachelor franchise is that there is some sort of scandal like this every year, it feels like. It's actually ridiculous. And wow, there is no smooth way to transition back to petty drama, so here we go. Kelsey says that she hasn't been feeling like herself today, and she's still not quite over how emotional she was yesterday. But she tells Peter that it's because she's falling in love with him. But of course, things can't look up for too long because Tammy has some things she needs to say.
Last night she had a huge mental breakdown.
But what was she doing? Like
Drinking herself, down in her sorrows.
Tammy goes to Peter and she says, "Hey Peter, you should know that Kelsey had a mental breakdown and I've seen her drinking excessively multiple times. Okay, bye." So Peter naturally pulls Kelsey again and he's like, "Kelsey, you okay, bud? You doing all right?" Kelsey's like, "I mean, I told you I was emotional yesterday. Like, of course I was, but it wasn't me having a mental breakdown. I promise if I can't handle this process, I will tell you. I just got caught up in my feelings. Like, I'm good." So Kelsey walks back to the group and says this.
So, do we want to talk about who said I was emotionally unstable today?
Listen, for the most part, I am on Kelsey's side in this debacle, but Kelsey is not defeating the emotionally unstable allegations in that shot. So we want to talk about whoever said I was emotionally unstable? Tammy, however, is silent. Say it with your chest, Tammy. Is Kelsey unstable or not? But other... My hair still... Pretend it wasn't like that. But other girls like Natasha, Lexi, and Victoria F. say, hey, Kelsey, maybe people have an issue with you because, you know, we haven't had one-on-ones, but you have. So hearing you sob over it when we arguably are in worse spots, it's gonna annoy us. Kelsey says, wait, I feel like this is all being blown way out of proportion. I'm just being vulnerable, unlike everyone else here. And that's what really pisses people off, and I get that.
I feel like I'm the only one right now that is actually like being vulnerable and expressing my emotions.
That's absolutely.
Just because Kelsey is openly crying doesn't mean that everyone else doesn't also have feelings that can be impacted. The next day, Kelly has her first one-on-one with Peter. Remember, she's the lawyer Peter accidentally met before the show started. Peter says that although Kelly was the one relationship he was the most excited about in the beginning, he feels like they have plateaued and she really needs to show that she's like head over heels in love with him today or else he's gonna lose it. Kelly seems to be much more removed from the whole Bachelor reality show TV process than the rest of the group. She says that she doesn't have some sob story to tell in her one-on-one. She feels like Peter checks off a lot of boxes for her, but she's still figuring out if they're right for each other. And he's also dating 12 other women, so why not have fun, not get too stressed about it? To which Peter says, fun? Have fun? What part of being in Costa Rica is fun, Kelly?
Just be you and like have fun with it.
I'm not doing this for, yes, it can be fun, but I'm not doing this for a fun time.
This is about marriage, Kelly. He says, Kelly, I need you to trust this process because I know it works.
I need you to trust in this process. Everything I've said from night one about how beautiful this is and how it works, it does.
Even though I was on Hannah Brown's season and she was left heartbroken at the end, and so was I. It works. It totally works. The next day at the hotel, Kelsey tries to talk things out with Tammy. Kelsey says that she doesn't want there to be tension in the house, but the whole conversation, Tammy is like, why are you crying, Kelsey? Go drink yourself to death, Kelsey. Go be an alcoholic, Kelsey.
Again, I wasn't the one drinking. How did you get so drunk? Drinking yourself away to cry? You can continue to cry and wither your way in bottles of wine. Have fun.
The way Tammy is throwing around these alcoholic accusations is like actually foul, but Kelsey has had enough of crying. She gets dolled up and she walks right over to Peter's room to set the record straight. Kelsey very calmly explains that Tammy has been accusing her of being an alcoholic and a pill popper, which Kelsey thinks is a very unfair accusation. She wants to squash that right now and let Peter know that aside from any drama, her intention is to be with Peter. Peter says, Kelsey, you were very brave today, and for that bravery, I give you a rose. The look of absolute terror, though, when he pulls out that rose.
The other...
Don't worry about the other girls.
Kelsey knows that the other women are going to tear her to shreds when they see that. Just look at the looks on their faces when Kelsey walks up with it. We've finally arrived at the last cocktail party before the rose ceremony. We're in Costa Rica, having a good old time. McKenna, who is still here, is ready to progress her relationship with Peter when, goddammit, Chris Harrison is here.
We're gonna head straight into the rose ceremony.
Lexi and Tammy are immediately like, well, Kelsey, looks like it's your fault we don't have a rose ceremony tonight. If you hadn't went and talked to Peter, maybe we would have a cocktail party, Kelsey. They don't talk like that, but, you know. McKenna is at her absolute breaking point.
I want Peter to see how great I am, and now he's gonna miss out on that chance because he's so caught up in this drama.
Tammy says, well, Kelsey, what exactly did you say to Peter about me? Not that I have anything to worry about. I'm not embarrassed about what I said, but like, what did you say? And Kelsey's like, well, I told him you'd been accusing me of being an alcoholic and popping pills, which of course devolves into another crazy scene, which needs a recreation.
So what exactly was said about me? All I said was you accused me of having a drinking problem and popping pills. I never said popping pills. You did on the couch. You did say that. You said it to Victoria F and I also. To me, that's just hurtful because that's against my character. If that hadn't been said, it would have been fine. That's the only thing I addressed and said about you. But I didn't start the popping pills thing. I heard that from somebody else. From who then? Because I don't know what kind of medication you take. I take Adderall and birth control. Did she say that for real? Yeah. I mean, Tammy, it's really not your place to go telling that to other people then if you don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say that she was having a problem. I just said that she overly drank like
That's
one
not
night.
the only time you said it. You said
yeah, but
it
why
to
does that
us.
make me have a problem?
I'm just worried that now this is going to affect all of us because now we don't get time with Peter. because of this stupid fight that had nothing to do with the reason we're all here.
No, I agree.
Victoria P, did you not tell me that you knew about her pills? I didn't even see the way you were acting. I just said, I don't know if she's had too much to drink. It didn't need to turn into this, and here we are. Because now it's affected all of us. Like, we're not getting damn time with Peter tonight. I know. Who said it then? Who said that you were popping pills? I got that impression from Victoria P. Did those words come out of your mouth, yes or no? Yes. So don't say you didn't say it, because you started off denying it. I will never deny what I said. Everything I ask, you always say no, then it's yes, then it's no. What is it? Kelsey asked, you said no, and now you're saying yes. I think you took what I said, and honestly, you're trying to pull me into this, and I don't want a part of it. I'm not calling you an alcoholic. I never brought up to Peter that you were doing pills. You said it to me, and that's still... But isn't it more important if I bring it up to him? No, because it's not true. Why did you feel like you had to bring up something between you two to Peter when it really doesn't involve Peter at this point? It was a concerning moment. I was concerned because Peter needs to know. Peter needs to know what? That you were concerned for Kelsey? I saw alcoholic tendencies. It's kind of like blaming us for your relationship not progressing, and that's ridiculous. Like, when I'm with Peter, I literally say zip nada. Like, the last thing on my mind is to tell him, like, oh, Tammy, Kelsey, I could not care less. I could never talk to you guys again. Like, I just want to talk to him, you know? Well, you brought up Alea. He brought up Alea. So don't you ever try me one more time, Tammy? If you say that to me one more time, I'm gonna lose my f***ing mind. I never brought up Alea. You told him that there's someone... Shut the f*** up, Tammy. You shut the f*** up. You told him that there were people here that weren't here for the right reasons, and you didn't think he was gonna ask you. Y'all think I'm exaggerating about the faces McKenna was making? I can assure you I'm not.
I let clowns be clowns. If she wants to stand up and make a fool of herself, you go right on ahead, Tammy.
McKenna is still sobbing. Sydney has stormed off. Meanwhile, Hannah Ann and Maddie are like on the other side of the hotel. Neither of them are dealing with this mess.
No, you didn't think that he was gonna ask you?
No, I didn't, Tammy.
Somebody yelling? It's like, I want to know, but I don't want to know.
So the rose ceremony begins. But before Peter can begin, Tammy says, wait. Peter, can we talk real quick?
Peter, I'm sorry, before we begin, can I talk to you?
Yeah.
Peter, I just want to know if Kelsey was talking shit about me. McKenna sees this opportunity and she swoops in and says, actually, Peter, can I steal you from Tammy real quick?
I feel like this drama has really just broke me down.
Tammy and McKenna walk back and the rest of the girls are pissed.
I'm glad you guys had your mini cocktail party.
Are you mad at me?
I mean, yeah.
It's almost like the whole point of canceling the cocktail party was like to avoid this mess, and yet here we are. McKenna and Tammy do manage to get roses, so maybe their last second Hail Marys worked. But here are the women who are no longer with us. Episode 6. This week McKenna is trying to be the girl who's going to be okay.
Because like I started out so strong with him, and now I'm just like...
But Victoria F needs to bring that down real quick. She says, McKenna, you disrespected all of us by talking to him at the rose ceremony.
When other girls are getting time and you're not. Shut the f up. If Peter liked you, if Peter wanted time with you, he would have made time with you, and he hasn't.
All right, well, anyways, Hannah Ann, you want to go on this date with Peter? Hannah Ann and Peter have a great time, you know, shoving hot dogs in each other's faces. But then Peter thinks to himself, wait a minute. Hannah Ann is 23, and she says she's never been in love. I'm 28. What are we doing here? Why isn't she absolutely worshiping the ground I walk on right now? Should I send her home right now? Should I just fly home to Barbara Weber? Hannah Ann senses the panic in this man, and she's like, wait. Actually, Peter, I'm falling in love with you. Yes, I totally felt the need to say that right now. So Hannah Ann does get the one-on-one rose. Back at the hotel, the other women are waiting to find out who will get the next one-on-one. Tammy, Natasha, and McKenna are the only 3 at this point who haven't gotten a one-on-one. So this could finally be McKenna's time.
Victoria F, I feel like we didn't get a fair shot. Peter.
McKenna is ready to pack her bags, but she toughens up and puts her mind, body, and soul into her telenovela role the next day. Tammy has a great time threatening McKenna with a knife.
I deserve an award for my acting. Are you freaking kidding me? Everyone knows how nice I am. That was the meanest girl out there.
That night, Victoria P is just kissing on Peter's fingers. I swear, one of them was about to like go in her mouth at one point. But Peter says, I can't really see you as my wife, Victoria P. Whoops. So Victoria P, out of here. Only one Victoria left. McKenna is having the time of her life. She felt so low yesterday, but she's had a good day for once, and nothing is going to bring her down. Well, until Tammy opens her mouth.
Like, are you even ready?
for a
So what?
adult relationship.
You have brought me down and said that I'm 22, I'm immature, and this and that. You are
But
immature,
you
McKenna.
Tammy calling McKenna young and immature is like David Cross calling Stanley Tucci bald. Like, what are we even doing here? Even though Peter can hear screaming from outside, McKenna is not gonna let Tammy tear her down.
I feel like Peter could have sent me home in our conversation tonight, but he didn't. And I'm holding on to something in my heart that's because he's holding on to something in his heart for me.
And hey, Peter could have sent her home right then, but he didn't, so maybe he still thinks there's a connection between the two. I mean, anything's possible. The next day, Victoria F. and Peter have their second one-on-one to make up for that whoopsie little Chase Rice thing earlier. But the whole date, Victoria F. is like, well, maybe I should go home. You could never love me, Peter. What are we even doing, Peter? I don't even know if I want to get married, Peter.
Like, maybe you would be happier with someone who could be more like open with you.
You need to be honest with yourself again, and honestly.
Okay, like I get it, Peter.
And Peter says, I like your attitude, Victoria. Here's a rose. You may think we're done, but we're not. There was another date card this week. We have a 2-on-1.
McKenna and Tammy.
What?
Meet me at the cocktail party before everyone else arrives.
Surprisingly, we never got a 2-on-1 last season, but for the folks who are unfamiliar, the 2-on-1 date format isn't really a date. It's pretty much just for two people to fight in front of the lead, and at least one, if not both of them, usually gets sent home at the end. Tammy is feeling very confident going into this 2-on-1.
I'm wearing black today because it's her funeral.
But McKenna is not going down without a fight. McKenna has something to say.
I'm going to say something to you, and please do not interrupt me. I don't know what your goal was the other night to make me feel small and weak, but at the end of the day, you made me found my damn voice. Because I am a strong woman, and I will not let people like you tear me down anymore and make me feel like I am any less of a person, that I do not deserve any love. Because at the end of the day, I'm proud of who I am, Tammy. Kindness wins. Love wins. Bringing people down never wins. That's how I feel about that.
Give McKenna her EGOT. Move over to be or not to be. That is the most iconic soliloquy of all time. Peter sits down with Tammy and McKenna, and he says, McKenna, I trust you. Tammy, can I walk you out? Finally, we make it to this rose ceremony, and it's down to McKenna and Kelly. Who will he choose?
Kelly.
I feel like everything McKenna said on this episode would be beautiful on like a tacky Hobby Lobby kitchen sign.
But I know that this girl right here is tough and is strong and she is powerful.
But in the end, Tammy made her found her damn voice.
At the end of the day, you made me found my damn voice.
And just like that, there are only 6 women left. Episode 7. It is the last week before hometowns, so maybe, just maybe, our little goofy boy Peter will start to take things seriously. Don't get your hopes up too high. The first one-on-one this week is with the so genuine, so real Maddie. Maddie has definitely been one of Peter's strongest connections this season. She's been completely out of the drama, just being genuine and real. But back at the hotel, Hannah Ann and Kelsey mentioned that there's a pretty big conversation Maddie still hasn't had with Peter.
Do you know that she wants to have her husband, lead the family in faith and
be a spiritual leader.
Obviously, people practice Christianity in a lot of different ways, but from the phrase spiritual leader, and just from what I know about Maddie after going on The Bachelor, Maddie is religious with like a capital R. It is very important to Maddie that she marry someone who shares her same level of faith. So that night, Maddie explains, although not very specifically, that her Christian faith is very important to her, and she wants to know if they're on the same page.
In a marriage, I want someone who also has that relationship with the Lord and loves that about me and wants to raise a family in that way.
To which Peter says, Maddie, you're so pretty. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm kind of Christian, but Maddie, I'm starting to fall in love with you, more importantly. Maddie's like, well, he didn't really answer my question, but I did get a kiss, so I would consider this date a success.
I feel like the conversation didn't go at all how we planned, but it was I guess way better.
We could be generous and say they cut a lot of this conversation out, but the way Peter and Maddie give absolutely zero specifics about their faith beliefs to see if they can actually align in this conversation is wild to me. The next one-on-one is a Christmas miracle. Natasha is finally getting her first one-on-one with Peter. On this date, they dance. Peter snuggles up with Natasha in what looks like the skin of Appa from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and he says, "Natasha, you have so many qualities I want in my future wife. You're funny, smart, bold. You're not afraid to call me out on my bullshit. And it's for those reasons that I think we're better off as friends, and you should actually go home right now, Natasha." Listen, Natasha, unless you have like some C-list country musician boyfriend I can cuckold, I'm not interested. For the final one-on-one before hometowns, we have Kelsey. Peter makes this poor woman sprint up a mountain.
Wait, we're running?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not stopping until we get to the top, okay?
Okay.
Their date goes really well, and I once again have to remind everyone that this woman started her time on the show like this.
Oh.
What a turnaround, truly. So that just leaves Kelly, Victoria F, and Hannah Ann on a 3-on-1 date with 2 roses left. But the thing is, Kelly has some billable hours to get to. She is checked out on this date.
I'll be napping here. See you in a bit.
Kelly is like, "Peter, I'm an attorney. I'm stable. I got this in the bag." And I mean, logically, is she wrong? Kelly sits down with Peter and she's like, "Listen, Peter, I want you to meet my family. I think we make sense together. We have fun together. And you know what? You shouldn't have to fight and cry constantly for a relationship to work." Victoria F. But Peter ignores all but one part of that message.
Is it more than just fun for you?
"I don't know, Kelly. Sounds like you're just here to have fun. Me, Peter, I'm taking this so seriously, as evidenced by..." Well, Hannah Ann and Peter have a really nice, easy conversation.
So I wrote down the reasons why I'm starting to fall for you.
So that just leaves Victoria F. How do we think that went?
Okay, so then what did I do?
I feel like I don't know why it's like you're attacking me for asking
I'm not
me
attacking
questions.
you.
What? No way. Peter asked Victoria, "Hey, remember how we had like a bad one-on-one last week where you were crying and threatening to go home?" And Victoria is like, "Well, aren't you in a mood?" Now that Kelly has had plenty of time to rest, it is time for Peter to decide who he will take to hometowns. And he has a tough decision ahead of him, and he picked Victoria F. Sure, why not? Honestly, by this point in the season, I was fully convinced that Peter was keeping Victoria F solely to take her to fantasy suites and hook up with her. There's truly no other rational explanation for like what's going on here. But Peter walks back with this final rose and gives it to Hannah Ann. Sorry, Kelly. Maybe if you dotted your I's with hearts like Hannah Ann, Peter will be meeting your law firm next week. Episode 8. Folks, it's hometowns time. That means it's time for Peter to show off his manly survival skills in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Throwdowns going down.
Well, he'll get him next time, I'm sure. Hannah Ann's dad is just about as excited for this hometown as I am.
We were excited, obviously, to see her, spend some time with her. And then, of course, she brought Peter with her, which is new and exciting, I guess.
For Kelsey's hometown date in Des Moines, Iowa, Peter and Kelsey stomp on some grapes. The Bachelor production team was so rotted for that GoPro grape foot shot.
There's so much that I admire about her.
Even though Kelsey tells Peter that she's in love with him, he honestly seems more excited about the crab rangoon they had for dinner that night.
These are crab rangoon.
These are crab rangoon. Oh my God. Yeah.
Our third hometown is with Maddie in Auburn, Alabama. And once again, Peter's athletic ability is put on full display.
It makes me so happy, like seeing Peter being a part of this environment and this world and like him being there with me.
He's no Air Bud, that's for sure. Maddie once again reminds Peter that she's uncompromising in her belief. I'm Christian, Peter. Notice that. Maddie, Peter is not smart enough to pick up on the subtle hints that you're very religious. I mean, imagine the day that Peter found out about the concept of Pangea. Probably rocked his world. When Peter goes to meet Maddie's family, they're cautiously optimistic about this Peter guy. But Maddie's mom wants to know what Peter thinks of the very specific faith decisions Maddie has made for herself.
I think Madison has made some very specific faith decisions about her life since she was a little girl.
What does that mean? I'm gonna lose it. Please be specific.
I am saving myself for marriage.
Do any of these people know what Peter did in a windmill? That's like his biggest claim to fame. This can't work at all, right? This relationship is doomed. Well, it turns out it doesn't have to be, because Maddie decides that she just won't mention that little tidbit tonight. Cross that Jesus bridge when we get to it, I guess. Even without actually having that conversation, Maddie is finally starting to realize that, hey, maybe a guy who parties, drinks, in windmills, and a girl who doesn't drink, is super religious, saving herself for marriage, those two people might not have the strongest foundation together. Peter, on the other hand, is just along for the ride. He just found out what Pangea is. Finally, of course, the messiest for last, Victoria F's hometown in Virginia Beach. The date starts off strong, with Victoria's dog immediately throwing himself in the ocean just at the sight of Peter and Victoria hugging.
Hello. Wait, who's this? This is Buck. Oh no.
Peter and Victoria do some very tasteful antebellum cosplay, and Victoria shares ice cream with her dog. Afterwards, Victoria takes Peter to her favorite bar for their very own private country concert performed by the one, the only Chase. No, I'm kidding. It's Hunter Hayes. It's as if Hunter Hayes wrote this song just for them, honestly.
I don't want easy, I want crazy.
Are you sure?
No, Peter, you don't want easy. You do want crazy. And they can never take that away from you, can they? Just as Peter is about to leave the bar, he runs into his college ex-girlfriend, Marissa. Marissa is here with a very important message.
Can I say some advice?
Yeah.
Just be careful. That's all I'm gonna say.
Turns out Marissa used to be friends with Victoria and has watched Victoria break up several marriages. Several? And this is where we get back to the Reddit of it all. This has been a rumor floating around the internet basically since Victoria F was cast on the show. Of course, Peter couldn't know that when they were filming, and I didn't even know that when I first watched the show. But a lot of diehard fans have been waiting the entire season for this gossip to drop, and it could not have come in a more dramatic form. That night, Peter mopes up to Victoria's home while her seemingly very lovely family is just waiting inside. But this conversation can't wait. Peter has to know right now, 20 feet away from her family, if Victoria is the homewrecker his ex-girlfriend from 2012 foretold. And I mean, we've seen what, like 4 conflicts between Peter and Victoria at this point? We can't even act surprised at how this goes. You know how on our first date, at the concert, you had an ex there? Mm-hmm. Today I had an ex there too. Okay. Her name is Marissa. You know, we just kind of chatted for a little bit, and she just brought some stuff up that she thought I should know. About what? She told me that you've caused a lot of relationships to end. I don't know what she's referring to there, but those were her words. And like, for me, that was like the biggest bomb. For her to say that's really disappointing. I haven't broken up any relationships, so what relationships did she say that I broke up? She didn't give me any details. These are her words. And obviously you can see how that would put me in a bad space. I'm like just disgusted. Victoria, have you not heard my words? No, I haven't. Because you literally just told me that I literally just came up to you and asked you. It's so much drama all the time. Victoria. I'm so ready to just like not. Do you think that I enjoy this right now? No, I don't. Do you think I look forward to this conversation? Do you think there's any way I couldn't just address this, that I could go into your house and go meet your family after being told that? And I don't want to do this. Can we just talk? What are we gonna say? There's nothing for me to say. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. Okay, let's talk it out, Peter. What do you want to say? I'm just asking for the truth. Well, it doesn't matter anymore, Peter. So you're just gonna give up on this? You literally just came in here and you're gonna act like that? Are you kidding me? Excuse me? Excuse you what? I just walked up here and I did not accuse you of anything. I simply told you what I had heard. You're supposed to meet my family tonight. You decided that what Marissa told you was more important than meeting my family. What is this right now? I don't know, Peter. I just have nothing to say to you right now. I have nothing. Do you ever fight for anything that you really want? Yeah, I do. Because I haven't felt you fight for this. Really? You haven't? That's funny. But no, I'm being honest here. It's like every time it's like me trying to talk you down. Okay, well then, if that's how you feel, do you not agree with that? I do not. Last rose ceremony? No. And one-on-one? I don't agree. Walking out? No, I don't agree. But I want you to be completely realistic right now. Do you think it's possible? I am so done with this conversation right now. Like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Get like the I can't. I'm serious. After Victoria once again storms off, very upset, Peter and Victoria continue to talk in circles. Peter even ends up apologizing to Victoria for even bringing it up, but eventually Peter seems to get tired of this conversation and he says, you know what, fuck it, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go hang out with Hunter Hayes instead, leaving Victoria sobbing with her family awkwardly coming out to comfort her in the middle of the street. The next morning, Victoria has had a little more time to rethink her strategy in the situation, and she knocks on his hotel door. Hey, so sorry about how things went down last night. Don't suppose we can just forget about all this?
Probably not like good enough right now, but like I'm trying really hard. Like I've never tried.
Well, Peter had 3 very successful hometowns, at least from his perspective, and 1 absolute dumpster fire where Peter didn't even meet the family. Who will he choose?
Victoria.
I mean, why not, Peter? You've already fucked up this much. Why not just keep going? But also justice for Kelsey. Just as Peter is getting ready to walk away, Maddie suddenly realizes, oh wait, I made it to Fantasy Suites. I should probably tell Peter this vital piece of information about my faith right now after he already picked me. Episode 9. Maddie sits down with Peter and she very slowly says that if Peter sleeps with anyone during the fantasy suite, she will have a hard time continuing on.
Next week you were to like sleep with somebody else, like it would be really hard for me to really move forward in this.
You would think she was speaking in tongues right now because Peter does not understand.
So what are you saying? If I don't know what you're trying to tell me right now.
I mean, can you blame him? He's the fuck boy. He's the boy who fucks. And even though Maddie says that she doesn't want to tell Peter what to do and this isn't an ultimatum, I mean, no matter how nice she is about it, that kind of is what she's saying, right? She also importantly does not explain that she's saving herself for marriage or that this is because of her faith. I mean, it's probably implied, but she's still not explaining why she has these boundaries. And he's not asking any sort of follow-up questions either. It's complicated because I don't think Maddie is being entirely unfair to Peter. I mean, in the real world, if you were a monogamous person, it would be really weird to say yes to a proposal a week after your fiance slept with 2 other people, whether you're religious or not. I think that would be uncomfortable for most people. But at the same time, Maddie did sign up for the show. And even if she wasn't familiar with it before, that is the format. And on top of that, The Bachelor was Peter Weber. He is most famous at this point for having premarital sex. This feels like so set up for failure, but I don't think this situation is nearly as extreme as Hannah and Luke P's fantasy suite argument on the previous season. Although Luke and Maddie appear to have very similar religious beliefs, it felt like Luke was weaponizing his faith and Hannah's faith and using it as a means to control and shame Hannah. And from what we've seen of Maddie here, this does seem to be coming from a much more genuine place for her. It's just her stating a preference, a boundary, and if that's important to her, she should be able to express that. And if Peter loves Maddie as much as he says that he does, he could just not hook up with the other women and propose to Maddie at the end. He doesn't have to hook up with anyone if he doesn't want to either. And now he knows that if he does, Maddie will probably break up with him. So if that happens, that's the consequence. I tend to believe that even though the format of the show is awkward to say the least, it is what they signed up for and Peter should be able to explore these relationships without feeling pressure. But honestly, it feels like me just sitting here talking to y'all. It feels like I probably put more thought into what could happen here than Maddie or Peter, because none of these points are addressed on the show. Instead, Peter is like, man, I don't know what to do. I love Maddie, but she hasn't said that she loves me back. How can she ask me not to sleep with Victoria or Hannah Ann when she doesn't even do that? Well, Peter and Maddie will have plenty of time to really stew on that on a very long flight to Sydney, Australia. Once we get to the hotel, the girls learn that they will all be sharing a hotel room this week. So while one of them is getting swept away to get frisky with Peter in the fantasy suite, the other 2 are forced to just awkwardly stare into each other's eyes. They have never done this on any other season of the show that I know of, and I genuinely think the Bachelor production team was just high on their own supply at this point. They already know they secured the most messy season of The Bachelor yet, and so they might as well go all in. The first fantasy suite is with Hannah Ann. Hannah Ann, as usual, seems head over heels in love with Peter. Meanwhile, Peter seems to think she is, okay. But Hannah Ann says, hey, Peter, you do whatever you gotta do to make your decision. And Peter says, I appreciate that, Hannah Ann. I really do. The next morning, Hannah Ann walks back into the hotel room with Victoria and Maddie inside, and it's as awkward as you can imagine.
How did it go? It went really well,
His next one-on-one is with Victoria, and he seems just so excited to be spending a day with Victoria.
We're still here. We still both choose each other right now.
Peter's like, hey, let's state the obvious. Sorry, I accused you of being a homewrecker, Victoria. Let's just get you into that fantasy suite. I mean, have a great day today.
Had to run in. I know.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Real healthy relationship right here. That night, Peter asks Victoria, hey, how come your communication is stinky garbage doo-doo? Just a thought, just a question. And Victoria says, well, I had a bad ex. So, and Peter's like, no, I don't get it. Could you expand on how this relationship was bad or how it impacts our communication here?
Is that even anything?
I totally get the
I don't know what you want. I'm struggling.
Okay, no.
Well, would you look at the time, after all of that productive conversation, it is time to get Victoria into that fantasy suite. I swear, Victoria could have stolen Peter's catalytic converter, and he still would have taken her to that fantasy suite. Nothing was going to stop this man. Not even an ultimatum from the girl he clearly likes way more than the other two women here. Speaking of, it is finally time for Maddie's fantasy suite. After she's watched both Hannah Ann and Victoria come waltzing back to the hotel, hair all tousled, Maddie is at her breaking point. Even though she says that she's in love with Peter, she knows that if he slept with someone, she won't stay. And hey, she did technically tell him that before the fantasy suite, so surely he took that into account. That night, Maddie finally explains that she is saving herself until marriage. Although she doesn't expect Peter to have made the same commitment, she reiterates that she would just not be able to wrap her mind around the thought of getting engaged to someone right after he slept with someone else. Peter says, listen, I respect the hell out of you for saving yourself for marriage. Love that for you. I did sleep with someone else during the fantasy suite though. Is that a problem? Maddie does seem genuinely heartbroken from this. She doesn't shame him. She doesn't ask for details. She just walks out in tears. But Peter, for some reason, still seems to think that this is a salvageable relationship. He walks out and says, Maddie, I'm so sorry. Don't you think we can get past this? It definitely seems like Peter took what Maddie said and thought, ask for forgiveness instead of ask for permission. Again, if any follow-up questions were asked when they had that initial talk, if they had actually tried to have a mature conversation about intimacy and boundaries, it feels like we could have at least avoided this conversation right now. It's like, Peter, if you actually cared about ending up with Maddie in the end, you would have at least asked more questions, if not just abstained from hooking up with Hannah Ann and Victoria. And we're still not addressing the much more foundational point that Maddie's boundaries are tied to her very closely held Christian faith. Even if Peter is Christian too, they have no idea whether their faith actually aligns or how it would look living together, raising kids, if they practice their faith in a fundamentally different way. In short, this relationship is doomed, but this has never deterred Peter up until this point, so why think rationally now? Episode 10. The next day is the rose ceremony, and Maddie is nowhere to be seen. I don't know if Hannah Ann and Victoria can see Peter from where they are, but it kind of looks like they can, and he is just sobbing over the thought of Maddie not showing up right now, which is perhaps why Hannah Ann is also sobbing right now. But then a vehicle pulls up. Maddie may physically be at this rose ceremony, but she looks like she is just in another dimension mentally. She does not want to be here. Peter starts the rose ceremony. He picks Hannah Ann, and then finally,
Madison, will you accept this rose?
not him asking, are you sure? My God. But hey, we have our final two, so let's crack the champagne. Let's celebrate. Woo! Anyways, it is time for the women tell-all. Turns out, yes, these women do indeed still all hate each other.
I would never say that. Excuse you.
You have some
nerve to talk because that's all you do with your group.
The best part of the Women Tell All is easily our girl Kelsey. They show Champagne Gate up on the screen and she's laughing right along with everybody. She's like, honestly, yeah, my emotions weren't wrong, but the way I handled that was so inappropriate. Doesn't mean it was cool for Tammy to throw around alcoholic accusations. That's actually really shitty to people who like suffer with those addictions. But yeah, me, Kelsey, I'm chilling right now. When Chris is like, well, didn't you also call Sydney a stupid bitch at one point, Kelsey? Yeah, that wasn't my best moment either, but I apologized to Sydney privately already. We already worked this out. We're fine. To celebrate easily the strongest character growth of this season, Kelsey is rewarded with a big old bottle of champagne, and good for her. And with Victoria F in the hot seat, Chris can finally ask, so about that whole White Lives Matter thing, just kidding, this is The Bachelor, they're not going to address racism accusations, about that whole breaking up a marriage thing.
Serious accusation was made about you.
Very serious.
About breaking up relationships, breaking up marriages.
Multiple marriages, Chris. Don't undersell her accomplishments. Although we never get a real answer on what exactly happened here, I will say the phrasing of like breaking up a marriage is really unfair. I think it goes without saying, having an affair with a married man, that's bad. Don't do that. But the married men are the ones breaking up the marriages, even if that was the case, right? But because we don't really get any juicy details from Victoria or any new drama in this tell-all, The Bachelor is forced to fill time with footage of Peter visiting different Bachelor viewing parties, and they decide to include a clip of Peter's parents hooking up in the back of their car.
That feels good when you do that like
Hello?
that.
Oh.
What's up, guys?
Because why not? Episode 11. We have finally made it to part 1 of the epic finale in the Australian outback. Bloomin' onions, as far as the eye can see. And finally, the real star of this season, Barbara Weber, has arrived.
Bud!
I trust my family so much, and I'm gonna take their advice and factor that into my decision.
The way Peter's family keeps calling him Bud just kills me. It just really makes me realize that Peter really does have the same ability to like perceive long-term consequences as a golden retriever, meaning he doesn't have that skill at all, but boy is it fun to watch Peter play basketball. Peter sits down with his family to explain who they'll be meeting today. Maddie, who they already met at the vow renewal ceremony, and his first impression rose, Hannah Ann. Oh, by the way, my immediate family, you should know. Maddie said that if I slept with someone in the fantasy suites that she'd be really mad at me, and I did that, and now she's on the verge of walking off the show, but please family, let's give both of these ladies a fair chance. Now this is very concerning to Miss Barbara Weber.
That concerns me a little bit. It concerns me a lot, actually.
If there's one thing Barbara Weber knows about her son, it's that it's basically like telling Rasputin to keep it in his pants. It isn't right, but we don't have to worry about that quite yet because today they are meeting the lovely Hannah Ann. Barbara Weber takes one look at the literal bottle sitting right next to Peter and says, OMG, it is like looking in a mirror right now.
I see you and me in them. I do. I see your dad and myself.
Hannah Ann is me. I'm in love. Hannah Ann does seem genuinely really nervous and excited to meet Peter's family, but it also seems really apparent to her that Peter probably isn't going to pick her in the end. She gets emotional talking about that with Barb, and Barb is like, oh, well, let's not talk about all that. Tell me more about how much you love my son. A solid day with Hannah Ann. The next day, Maddie walks out to meet Peter, and she is still visibly upset about the whole fantasy suite situation. She says that she hadn't asked for anything from Peter up until this point, and it just felt like he put his feelings way above hers. And it sucks because before he told Maddie that he had slept with the other women, she was going to tell him that she loved him. She would have said yes to an engagement right then. And Peter, ever lacking object permanence, goes, wait, Maddie, you love me? You were going to tell me you love me? Let's forget all about our fundamentally different lifestyles and morals. Come on, Maddie, let's go meet my family. It's going to go great. Maddie and Peter walk in and they once again explain to Peter's parents that Maddie was upset that he slept with someone else. But Maddie says that she loves him and she sees a future with him. So they're going to stick it out together. But before they can run off into the sunset, Peter's family has several follow-up questions. Peter's dad sits down with Maddie and is like, hey Maddie, do y'all think that you two are like actually compatible? And Maddie says, well, when you put it like that, I guess we do have a lot of differences, especially when it comes to his faith, but he told me one time that he would be willing to be more Christian, so like maybe it'll be fine. Meanwhile, Peter's younger brother Jack is sitting down with Peter and he says, listen Peter, we all know you mean to tell me that you intend to abstain from that until marriage?
Obviously, you're very physical in relationships, not actually still having sex until you're fully married. And do you think that's something that you like realistically see yourself doing?
Yeah.
And what about line dancing, Peter? You love getting blackout and line dancing. You're not going to give that up just for her, are you? And Peter's like, pshh. I'll be fine. Everyone makes sacrifices to be married, right? It's interesting because I think when I watched this season as it initially aired, I was much more on Peter and Maddie's side at this point, believe it or not. Sure, if you love someone, you can change things and your lifestyle probably does just change as you get married and get older. But now when my frontal lobe is fully developed, I still think Peter is fundamentally missing the point. That Maddie isn't just sober and saving herself for marriage for no reason. Those decisions are attached to her deeply held morals, which Peter doesn't seem to share. And it's not a bad thing for either of them to live their lives the way that they do, but fundamentally, they're just incompatible. So I don't blame Peter's family for having some questions about that. But you'll see, it gets taken to a whole other level. Maddie sits down with Barb, and Barb has some choice words for Maddie. Maddie, it was not okay for you to tell my son what he can or can't do. My son, get that straight.
He socializes, he parties.
But Maddie says that she's not going to apologize for her values. She never told Peter what to do, she just expressed how it would make her feel. But in her interviews, Maddie seems to finally be realizing that this relationship is doomed. She still gives Peter a hug goodbye, and it's in that horrifying moment I realize she's wearing high-low jeans? Surely God never intended for this. Peter walks back in to see his family, and Barb is sobbing.
What's up? What's going on? Why are you crying?
She says Maddie isn't there for you, bud. God put this angel on earth, Hannah Ann, who just so happens to look exactly like me, on this planet for you. Please, you must pick her over Maddie. Barb says that this is exactly what happened last season, where Peter was in love with Hannah Brown, and then she chose that stinky dog food jingle guy over Peter. Peter, you can't let this happen again, bud. Even though, like I said, I don't disagree that Hannah Ann is the better choice, the toxic boy mom energy in this scene is off the charts. And then we finally get the scene we have been waiting the entire season to see, as performed by me. Why is it that you're not immediately just like, yeah, Hannah Ann's the answer here? You guys, I was telling Jack earlier, you guys don't know the Maddie I know. Like, you don't know our entire relationship. Is this something you can like put into words? Our entire relationship has been absolutely perfect. Has it been better than Hannah Ann's? There's been no hiccups. You would say there's been no hiccups. Until this. And everyone's just caught up in this, and I can see past this. Peter, we're not pushing you. I'm being real. Peter, I'm just let me real. Would you rather we led you down the wrong road? I hear you guys, but I need you guys to trust me, and you have not been dating these girls and know these girls like I do. Hannah Ann loves you with all her heart. Don't let her go. Don't let her go. Bring her home. Bring her home to us. And we'll welcome her with open arms. We will welcome her with all the love in the world. It's a dream come true. And God has placed her there for you. That's what love stories are made out of. Someone that is so madly in love with you. You gotta stop doing this. I mean, I'm crying. You gotta stop doing this. I'm crying. No, you gotta stop doing this. You have no idea what I'm crying. It's literally destroying me. You have no idea. Yeah, I don't want to do that, but I have emotions. Okay, but you can't. Come on, this is insane right now. Please don't do that to me. Let me tell you, the shockwaves felt around the world when we all realized that the "Don't let her go" was about Hannah Ann.
Don't let her go. Don't let her go. Bring her home to us.
They'd been teasing this moment in almost every episode, and the entire audience, myself included, assumed that this was about Maddie because Maddie had been the clear frontrunner up until this point. In this moment, you want Peter to stand up to his mom and pick Maddie, even though Maddie and Peter are not remotely compatible. But everyone on this season is a broken clock. Peter is like any teenage 28-year-old boy. Hearing his family so against Maddie only makes him want her more. The next day is his last date with Maddie before the big proposal, and there are bugs everywhere. Maybe while filming my videos, I should just constantly be swatting at flies. That would be really good, I think, for engagement. Make everyone feel really relaxed. But Maddie sits down with Peter and says, babe, we gotta call it quits. We are two wildly different people, and this just objectively is not going to work. But Peter won't hear it. He's like, but to me, none of that matters. Too bad Maddie has already made up her mind. After a tearful goodbye, Peter goes to contemplate his life choices on a comically small rock. But hey, there's still Hannah Ann, a person he insists he loves just as much as Madison. On his date with Hannah Ann, he critically does not mention that Maddie has already went home and that Hannah Ann is the only one here. Instead, he just says, hey Hannah Ann, you know what I love about you? I love that you're here. No matter how many dumb decisions I make, you sure are here. Hey Peter, Hannah Ann isn't the box of saltines that's been in your pantry since 2016. She's a real person, not a consolation prize. He also tells Hannah Ann that his heart is being pulled in two different directions, even though we know that Maddie is already gone, and Hannah Ann has no idea. Justice for Hannah Ann. Episode 12. It is finally engagement time, and Hannah Ann is losing it. She is planking in her hotel room because she is in that much distress. She just doesn't think straight up that Peter is going to pick her in the end. And Peter is really hyping himself up for that default fiance.
Let's go!
You know, it's been a while since we've heard that Peter woo. As Hannah Ann is walking down to the proposal, she is fully expecting to get dumped at the bottom of those stairs. But she finally makes it up there, and Peter starts his proposal speech. He tells Hannah Ann how amazing she is. But you know what, Hannah Ann? You know how I told you my heart was being pulled in two different directions? Well, guess what, Hannah Ann? Maddie left 2 days ago, so it's just you. Will you marry me?
I love you, I love you, I love you.
No one is more surprised by that engagement than Hannah Ann herself. After Peter flies back home, it is finally time for Peter to reveal to his family what happened. He goes full Ryan Seacrest as he is very slowly telling Barb which one he picked.
And I asked Hannah Ann to marry me.
I haven't heard Barb scream like that since she found out Peter 4 times at a windmill. Barb is just so happy that Peter picked Barb. I mean, Hannah Ann. But of course, like any happy moment on Peter's season, it can't last. A month after the engagement, Hannah Ann goes to talk to Peter wearing a classic shade of breakup blue. Peter explains that he never meant to fall in love with two people, and even though he wants so badly to give his whole heart to Hannah Ann, he just can't. Hannah Ann then proceeds to absolutely school this man, and it is so well deserved.
I said yes. And I get this?
I would do a dramatic reenactment, but honestly, even I can't do it justice.
You betrayed me. And you know it, right?
And for some reason, every time she does like a very clear, dramatic one-liner ending, he continues to follow her out of the house and into the car for like just one more little talk.
Hannah Ann.
What? Peter,
I will talk to you.
Leave.
You'd honestly think that Peter had like a humiliation kink at this point. Hannah Ann is here for a live confrontation with Peter, and no one is more excited to see Hannah Ann absolutely tear this man down than Peter's mother.
Word of advice, if you want to be with a woman, you need to become a real man.
Woo! You go, girl. My son sucks. Even if you're not Barbara Weber, it is so cathartic to see Hannah Ann lay into this man. He absolutely had it coming. Hannah Ann also reveals that after their breakup, Peter reached out to her parents, saying he was so sorry and that he wished they had met outside of reality TV. And also, Hannah Ann says that while they were engaged, Peter was reaching out for closure with Hannah Brown. So actually, there were 3 women in Peter's engagement: Hannah Ann, Hannah Brown, and Madison. 4 if you count Barb. But Chris Harrison has one sneaky little surprise for Peter. Since Chris Harrison and the Bachelor producers care so much, Chris Harrison flew out to Auburn, Alabama without Peter's knowledge and told Madison that Peter broke off his engagement because he was still in love with Maddie.
You seem surprised to see me.
I'm very surprised.
She says while being fully mic'd and ready for the camera. Maddie says that she regrets what she did and she's ready to fly out to LA and get Peter Weber back. Meanwhile, the entire time Maddie is talking about how much she loves Peter, there is a designated Barb cam where Barb is just death staring this woman down and rolling her eyes. Barb hates Madison. Chris Harrison tells Peter to wait outside and he sends Maddie in for the kill. They've both hurt each other. They have a lot of differences, but maybe it could work? Chris Harrison in the studio asks the question we're all thinking.
Are you in love with Madison?
Yeah.
So let's bring on Madison. Madison says that she loves Peter too, and although they have a lot of healing to do, they both want to see if this could work and, take it one day at a time. So Barb, what do you think about all this? Barb says, listen, Chris, what y'all saw the other night of me meeting both of them, that didn't show everything. Did you also know that we had to wait 3 hours for Madison and Peter to talk before we could meet her? Meanwhile, Hannah Ann embraced me with so much love, so of course I loved Hannah Ann more. The power of Christ is really compelling Madison at this point. It is taking everything for her not to pop off in this moment. Madison says that she can't change the past, but of course she has nothing but love and respect for Peter's family, and this was her journey too. It wasn't just about Peter choosing her, it was about them choosing each other. Finally, Peter makes one half-hearted attempt at standing up to Barb and says, hey Mom, I know you care, but I love this person and I'm asking that you trust me.
Chris, he's going to have to fail to succeed. That's it.
Can you imagine your mother going full Cersei Lannister on television at your own expense? Craziness, madness. That's how the season ends. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to mention the most important part. Just 2 days after this aired, Maddie and Peter released a statement saying that they had broken up for good. So, all of that for what? Oh, also Kelly was in the live studio audience because there were rumors going around at the time that Peter and Kelly were hooking up. Oh, and there were also rumors that Peter was hooking up with the Bachelor producer. Oh, and he did actually hook up with Hannah Brown when his season was airing, in between his engagement to Hannah Ann and his rekindling with Maddie. Because Peter is the fuckboy. He's the boy who fucks. So some of you may be wondering, where are we now? And boy, does this season have some updates. I mean, first of all, that live show premiered on March 10th, 2020, so there's just a real haunting sense of doom watching this back. But after the show premiered, Peter began posting TikToks with Kelly. Yes, the lawyer he sent home before hometowns. Peter will never escape the wishy-washy allegations. But then him and Kelly broke up. And then they got back together a year later. And then they broke up again. And now people think he's dating a woman from a different reality show that he was on. Meanwhile, Hannah Ann is thriving. She's actually engaged to a current Baltimore Ravens player, and she seems to have a lot of really dedicated followers. Now, Madison, although she was initially viewed pretty positively by religious and non-religious fans of The Bachelor, over the past couple of years, she has become incredibly popular with fundamentalist Christians while making plenty of appearances on the Fundy Snark subreddit. After being spotted at a Trump rally to the surprise of absolutely no one, she began building her career as an online and in-person minister.
Jesus is the only one that can satisfy. The only one.
I mean, has Jesus ever seen those slime scooping videos on TikTok? Honey! Maddie is also now married to the son of an oil baron billionaire who just objectively looks exactly like her dad. And her wedding veil had the words "worth the wait" embroidered on it. She also wrote up a purity contract with her now husband that she gave to her friends to keep her accountable up until their wedding. And now apparently whenever her and her husband have makeup sex, they look Satan right in the eye and fight for what he tried to tear apart.
That before we were married, Satan goes, how can I tempt you to be all over each other?
And now that we're married, I think we see, especially in intimacy in the marriage bed, he goes, how do I keep you away from each other?
Right,
One thing
right.
you walk into marriage going, we're going to want to have sex 5 times a day, every single day, every single moment. And especially as a man, I'm thinking, but it's interesting how Satan is so crafty to try and split that intimacy up once you're married.
That's so true.
And when you're dating, he goes together. Now I can't tempt you with lust with her anymore. So how do I get you off that? And we have to fight. And there's moments that we have had that, not that we didn't, but we were like, hey, we want to choose to have intimacy right now, even after this big argument, because we want to fight for this unity. And we're looking at Satan right in his eyes and going, we're fighting for what you cannot tear apart with God on our side.
So yeah, seeing what Maddie has been up to over the past few years honestly just goes to show that Peter and Maddie were not compatible. And it also quite honestly makes me question if Maddie was even on the show to be with Peter at all. I mean, maybe it's just a coincidence that she got this huge conservative Christian audience after going on the show with Windmill Boy, but I suppose we'll never know. Peter was not a good bachelor. And in hindsight, it's kind of crazy to think that at the beginning of this season, we really were supposed to believe that this guy was ever ready for marriage. But beyond being kind of a fuckboy, I don't think Peter's a bad guy. I think he was probably just very easy for Bachelor producers to push around, and he was definitely not capable of reining in drama that was constant on his season. But he certainly did give us the most dramatic season of The Bachelor. Yeah. Mike Johnson probably would have been a better choice. Oh my gosh, we made it to the end. I have been sitting here in this chair for a very long time. As usual, my memory card is about to run out of battery. My camera's about to overheat. Oh my gosh. Comment down below your thoughts on all of this mess. I hope y'all found it as fascinating as I did. I also have a Patreon where I upload a monthly bonus video for all the people who support me on there. And if you're not interested in any of those things, that's cool. Totally get it. However, if you liked this video, you could feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!